All right, it is 6 p.m. on Tuesday, October 8th. I'd like to call to order the Concord Carlisle Regional School District to order.
And I will call the Concord School Committee to order.
Right.
And I move that the Concord Carlisle School Committee and Concord School Committee will enter into executive session under Purpose 2 of the Open Meeting Law to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with the Superintendent of Schools, and Purpose 7 to comply with or act under authority of any general or special law or federal grant in aid requirements, specifically MGL 30A, 22A, and F, with regard to the review and approval of executive session minutes from April 23rd, 2024, May 7th, 2024, May 13th, 2024, May 21st, 2024, June 4th, 2024, June 10th, 2024, August 20th, 2024, September 3rd, 2024, and September 17th, 2024. And under Purpose 2, under which the June 4th, 2024, June 10th, 2024, May 7th, 2024, May 13th, 2020. Wait, did I skip a line? I think I did.
No.
Wait, June
You're good.
10th, and executive sessions were held under Purpose 3, under which the April 23rd, 2024, May 7th, 2024, May 13th, 2024, May 21st, 2024, June 4th, 2024, June 10th, 2024, August 20, 2024, September 3rd, 2024, and September 17th, 2024. Executive sessions were held and returned to open session.
You will be caught up after this.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Second.
Perfect. All right.
Roll call into exec?
Yes.
Anderson, aye. For both.
Hurcheck, aye.
Morano, aye.
Rainy eye. For both.
Both.
Rank and I for both.
Viola, aye for the region.
Watterson, aye for the region.
All right, we'll be back.
Goes back fast.
So our next agenda item is the CCHS student update. Soraya, Felicity?
Yeah, so unfortunately, Maddie has lacrosse practice, so she's not here today, but we do have our presentation as always. Yeah, Zaria, do you want to start?
Yes. These past 2 weeks have been pretty eventful. As you know, like 2 weeks ago, I think, the weekend of 2 weeks ago, Kicks for Cancer was held, which is basically a fundraiser with sports activities for cancer research, and it was really fun. I went, you can see the picture. It was really fun, and it was just a really good opportunity to not only have fun with your friends after school or outside of school, but it was just like a really good cause. I didn't go to Mighty Moose, but it was probably a really good experience as well. I know that a lot of stuff goes into these things, and it was just really fun. So I'm assuming that was really fun too. 2 weeks ago as well, I believe, the Student Senate Activities Fair happened, which is basically like a club fair where everyone has sign-up sheets for their club and they get to promote. It was really cool. I signed up for a lot of clubs, and I know it's just a really good way to get your club out there, and it was really fun. My club was there too, BSU. And Spectrum Club went to Concord Library, and they did button making, which sounds really cool. I feel like I should have done that, but yeah.
Yes, and also Flex Blocks, we've had them. I think this is our second year with Flex Blocks now with the new bell schedule, and there's been a lot of ways that admin and faculty have been trying to take advantage of those, and most recently there have been lots of college admissions information sessions, and I believe they're actually open to all grades, so I've definitely heard a lot of my peers really appreciating that opportunity to get to know a lot of colleges from different areas. And similarly, there was also I believe one of the science teachers hosted a flex block where people from Emerson Health, I believe, came to talk to students about health science career paths, and I know you see the picture on the right there was a lot of interest in that flex block. I think there's definitely, CCHS is very much a STEM school in many ways, so it was really a great opportunity to get a lot of people represented and have a way to kind of think about their future in that way. I know Zaria and I are definitely doing a lot of that because we're seniors, so that's why you'll hear us talking more about college every single time. Also, there was recently, I believe 1.5 weeks ago, there was a bit of a flooding incident in the CCHS building from, I believe, one of the 4th floor science labs. But there was a lot of, I think many students said that there was a lot of good communication from administration. There was a 2-hour delay, which honestly I think most people appreciated because we got to sleep in.
You're welcome.
And generally, everything is mostly operating normally now. We have, even though the affected classrooms are still being cleaned up, but there's been a lot of like movement of different classes that are from those classrooms. So I haven't heard any issues. I think we all were able to adapt relatively well. So that's been good.
Hispanic Heritage Month has been going on for this past few weeks. It started on September 15th and is going until I think a few more days until October 15th. And around CC I've been seeing a lot of murals, a lot of artwork and stuff like that. There's been a lot of videos and it's just a really good way to spread Hispanic heritage and culture. And I feel like they've been doing a lot more this year. And I don't know, I just thought it was really interesting and cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And obligatory CC theater update. The fall play is coming up. It's in less than a month, in a couple weeks actually, on November 1st through 3rd, and Zaria's in that. And yes, and the spring musical was just announced. It's going to be Shrek the Musical, which is obviously very well known. So I think it's going to be a really exciting production. We're hoping to get lots of people involved just because it's definitely one of those big name musicals. So I'm very excited for that.
I am too. And you know what else I'm excited for? Tomorrow. This is an early release. And the next 2 weeks, we have a Monday off, which is really cool. But at the same time, it's not for all the staff because they have to come in one of those days because it's a parent-teacher conference. But it's good for us.
I'm sensing some senioritis.
I think they're going to be writing college applications is what I think they're going to be doing.
Yeah, we don't truly have days off anymore.
No,
it's just
you don't.
extra time to do college apps.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. This is a great update.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aria.
All right, let me go
Thanks,
see if
Felicity.
our recognition folks are ready. They're
Yeah, sure.
in the other.
All right. Next on our agenda, we have recognitions. We're just checking on the participants that are in the other room. All right.
There's 7 of us.
That's great.
Get chairs?
So while they're coming in, I can just
Yep.
cue us up.
Perfect.
I'll let
Justin, do you want chairs?
you help with chairs and arrangements. So Mr. Cameron is here from the middle school. Tonight we wanted to share out with you the work of the Panther Pro Shop, which is the school store. And they have with them, as you can see, a number of students who are working in the store and helping to run and operate it. And then the 2 advisors are here, Megan Logan and Donna Amadon. So we're welcoming them. And once you get settled, Mr. Cameron can take it from there.
Yep, the other one. Do you need a mic?
Yeah.
These, either one, the handheld or that one.
You guys.
Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having us, of course. So I have with us, and we're just going to introduce ourselves really quickly. These are the students that work behind the scenes at our, we're in year 2 of our Panther Pro Shop, our Concord Middle School store. When we do quick introductions.
I'm Oda Van Buren, and I'm in 8th grade.
I'm Colin Middleton, and I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Miss Emily. I'm in 6th grade. I'm on, and I'm in 8th grade.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Megan Logan, and I am the Connections teacher at CMS, which is the sub-separate program there.
And I'm Donna Amadon. I am one of the advisors for the Panther Pro Shop. I'm also a tutor at Sanborn.
Okay, so just some quick context behind the scenes. So our school store was born out of an initiative called Positive Behavior Incentive Systems, or supports. PBIS is a research-based tool that schools will use in kind of a effort to compete, for lack of a better word, with discipline and all the focus that a school might have to have what typically is only 1 or 2% of your student population. So PBIS was born in the return back from the pandemic, and all schools saw a spike, an extinction burst of discipline when students returned back to school. So we felt it necessary to put forward some research-based approaches in PBIS. We wrote a grant for Concord Ed Fund, and I wanted to make sure that I named that for all of this. And it was born in a very pragmatic way of these lanyards that have pouches. Faculty and staff carry school store gift cards in their lanyards and their pouches. And Concord Ed Fund provided the seed money for all of this. So for many of us, this is the original lanyard from 2021. This is the original pouch. And the school store gift cards that we want to interact with all of you with in just a couple minutes, these are given to students who work at our Panther Pro Shop and are recycled back into circulation and go back into the teachers' faculty rooms to be gathered to put back into the pouches. And the areas in which we decided as a school community to catch students doing positive things are in the areas of kindness, or with the C in CMS of compassion. The M in CMS is motivation, and the S in CMS is self-awareness. And we really go deep in teaching lessons on compassion, motivation, and self-awareness in our advisory program. And we really go deep in 6th grade with the C, compassion, deep in 7th grade with the motivation, the M, and really deep. In fact, we're going so deep this year, we are rethinking and reimagining our parent-teacher conferences in the area of self-awareness, and their student-led conferences for the first time. So this is how we're extending in year 3 our PBIS and making sure that when students are caught in these areas, we're faculty and staff that just aren't catching students when they make a poor choice. We're catching students when they're making good choices. And we're awarding them and focusing and putting attention on them so they can be models for their peers. We just want to do a quick interaction. We want the school committee members to think of a moment in their day today where maybe they were acting with compassion, motivation, or self-awareness. And we have 5 school store gift cards that we're going to give out. And we're hoping you will visit Concord Middle School and our Panther Pro Shop, name of which came from a huge tournament we had in advisory where all these different ideas for names of our school store was dwindled down to Panther Pro Shop. So who would like to go first? We have 5 gift cards to give out.
I want to get a gift card.
Anyone?
Yes.
Just this past fall, I started volunteering in an organization called the Community Closet. That is something organized by the Concord Carlisle Foundation, I think it's called now. And it's a free store where you can come and get clothes, boots, coats, shoes, if you're in need of those things. So it has been a real joy for me. There are some rules there, and I've been reprimanded a couple times because I show compassion by bending the rules and letting people take sometimes more than they're technically supposed to. So, and I did that again today. Anyway, that is
That's
sort of
wonderful.
my compassion for the
I'd like
week.
to give Miss Anderson a Panther Pro Shop gift card. Do you want to do it, Owen? Yeah? Go for it. Just
Okay.
walk up and give her,
Thank you so much.
who'd like to go next?
All day, every day. I know that.
How about this, we'll do one for each letter, for
Who does
motivation or self-awareness.
There we go.
So today I did a presentation for kids from kindergarten to fourth grade at a small school around safety. And we had a coloring contest, and one of the students, I think she was in the second grade, was like struggling and didn't really want to be a part of the contest because she didn't feel confident in her drawing or coloring. So I picked her, I was one of the judges, so I picked her as one of our winners just because, just to motivate her a little bit.
Motivation. Who would like to give Miss Lawton a school store Panther Pro Shop gift card? Well, the teachers are a little bit more like, here you go. Colleen, you want to do it? No. Okay.
She's nice.
You just want to put it on the table and we can pass it down?
I can pass it down if you want.
Yeah.
Oh, good idea.
There you go.
Perfect.
Good job.
S, self-awareness. This is the one the 8th graders sometimes in the beginning of the year are like, what does that exactly mean?
That's a hard one, Mr. Cameron.
I can do one. I think I can do one.
Or I can.
No, you go, Brian, please.
All right, this one's kind of pretty minor, but, so I have a 6th grader at home. She goes to Carlisle. And now that we're into.
Ryan, you need a mic.
Now that we're into.
For the record, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Really important.
Into October, timeliness in the morning is a bit of a struggle, and it usually results that we actually have an intercom system in our house that we still use, and I buzz up and come on. And today I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be a bit more relaxed about this. Still need to get her out the door, but in a more calm manner, and it actually changed the way the morning went. So it was me saying,
Nice.
I will be more patient today.
Very nice. Good job.
The area of self-awareness, you're aware of how you are making others feel, which is a big part of what we talk about in both the Connections program and in 8th grade as well. All right, I promise this is the last one we're going to give out. Who wants to hand it over? Or just put it on the table? Well, here goes Holden.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Great job.
What questions do you have of the students who run our Panther Pro Shop?
I have a question. What do you sell in the Panther Pro Shop?
Good.
So we sell like sweatshirt, shirts, hats, car magnets, snacks.
Nice.
That's like almost all our
And also
inventory.
drinks.
Yeah. That's great.
And
What's your
Some
best
sneakers.
snack?
Yeah, it's the best snack.
What's the best snack?
Like the hottest seller.
That's what I'm gonna come and get.
Oh, that's
I like snacks.
Izzy's.
Okay.
There you go.
The Izzy drinks, yeah.
Other
And
questions?
where's the store located?
Right now.
Right now?
Yes.
Right now.
It's in the entrance.
Oh.
Which building?
Sanborn.
Yep. Which is where our after-school program is primarily held. So that's where we are right now.
What are the hours for the pro shop? It's Tuesday and Thursday till like 3:30.
Make a note of that.
You want to pass your mic down?
Do you enjoy working in the school store? What do you like about it?
Everything.
Everything? It's really fun.
Yes.
That's great.
What's the most popular item, do you think?
The snacks.
The snacks, of course. Sensing a
Those
trend.
middle schoolers. Any last question? Owen looks like he's ready.
All right, how much does like a sweatshirt cost? Like how many of those cards would you need to buy a sweatshirt or a snack?
Right, we didn't even share how the cards work.
Probably $1.50.
Okay.
I don't know if I heard him.
Each card varies. It could be 25 cents, 50 cents, or $1, and our sweatshirts are about 20, so you might need 20
Really
gift
have
cards.
to save up for
Hoping
that.
a good one.
Yeah.
Great.
We did find it important that, so it's really just a QR code. The students, though, that work the school store, they can convinced us to actually get a scanner that just reads a QR code. And we do have, there are items for 25 cents. So if a student presents themselves, very proud of themselves for having this, they're going to walk away with something.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great. What a great initiative.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for all of your hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming into this room full of adults. I know it's not easy and getting up and speaking. We love hearing from you, so thank you so much for coming.
We practiced 7th period and we knocked it out.
You did wonderful. No, this is great. Thank you so
Good
much.
job, everybody.
Thank you, guardians. Have a good night.
Okay. So we're going to move on to the next part of the meeting, public comment. As a reminder, our public comment period will be a period of 20 minutes. As a reminder, this is a meeting in the public and not with the public. So the school committee will not be responding to any comments. If you are in the room and you would like to speak, you can submit a blue form to me. I already have a couple up here. And you will be called to speak. If you are on Zoom, you can use the raise hand feature. When called to speak, please state your name and address before you speak. We will go every other, starting with comments in the room, and then take a comment on Zoom, back and forth, and you will have a time limit of 3 minutes. So I'm going to start with the first one I have in the room, so Michael Williams.
Oh, we had a late arrival. Can we just make a quick introduction?
Holden came in. Yeah, good friend. So this is Anthony. He is part of our school store as well. They were actually rushing back, believe it or not, irony has it, from our own cross-country meet. So.
Oh, welcome, Anthony. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Michael Williams, 1284 Sudbury Road. I quote excerpts from our superintendent's words from page 4 of the executive summary of the 2022. I quote excerpts from our superintendent's words from page 4 of the executive summary of the 2022-2027 Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Belonging, and Anti-Racism Strategic Plan. You can find this on the DEI tab of the Concord Public Schools website. And I quote, "We must be active listeners, creating safe environments for difficult conversations. We must all be willing to self-reflect and change. We must make efforts for constructive and collaborative dialogue rather than words that injure, harm, and divide. We must want every child to feel safe, connected, and supported by the school community." She goes on to say, "We have shown what trusting relationships can create under very difficult circumstances. I have great faith in what this community can accomplish together to better serve each child." The dialogue the superintendent and I have initiated has been quite constructive. However, I'm directly aware of significant concerns voiced by the Metco PTG regarding Metco director turnover and management, along with concerns from our local communities organized against racism and racial justice action group. With my friends and neighbors gathered here tonight, I stand in support of the issues raised by the Metco PTG and the local groups I've noted. Mindful of our superintendent's words, I respectfully ask that these issues not only be heard and understood, but they also be appropriately addressed. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Do we have anything on Zoom?
2 on Zoom. Can you see the attendance? Sorry. I have to promote them.
Just give us a second. I don't see them. I'm sorry.
I'll promote and we can go from there.
Katie? Katie, can you name your, give your first and last name and your address online when you speak up?
Promote them yet? There we go. Let's try that.
Oh, that's Akia.
Looking for Katie. This is the first one that came up.
She's declining to be promoted.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so then let's move to Akia.
Hello and good evening. My name is Akia Oboss. I'm a Boston parent. I'm here to express my concerns regarding the structure and leadership of the MECO program. In an email dated September 27th, Lori Hunter stated that having the MECO program report to the DEIB director has been a significant positive due to the alignment of the role's purpose. However, it is crucial that we have clear understanding of the quantitative evidence supporting her claims. We have witnessed 3 MECO directors resign under Concord's current leadership within just 3 years. This turnover is unacceptable and not a sustainable model for our students. Notably, among the 33 districts in Massachusetts, only 2 other districts have their MECO directors reporting to someone other than the superintendent or assistant superintendent. Concord's MECO program, and more importantly, our children, deserve dedicated leadership focused on their academic success. MECO is a unique program with specific needs that require direct oversight. It is essential for the school committee to leverage data in measuring the success of the MECO program in its current structure. Key metrics should include academic achievement, college acceptance rates, participation in honors and AB courses, involvement in sports and extracurricular activities, MECO enrollment, and the continuity of MECO leadership. These metrics should be assessed over time, and more importantly, these are the metrics that our future MECO director should be focused on improving through strategic initiatives and strong partnership with MECO parents and the Concord community. So why am I here? I am here to ask the school committee on proposing that the new MECO director set to be hired in the upcoming year oversee the entire K-12 Concord MECO program. This role should not be held by the current DEIB director and should report directly into the superintendent or the assistant superintendent. More importantly, this change would not replace the existing staff, but would enhance the program's leadership. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you, Akia. All right, we move to the next one in the room. We have Elizabeth Frank.
You do it? Yeah, sure. Just, there you go. You just take it off.
Yeah, sure. Hi. Is it on?
Yes, you're good to go.
Elizabeth Frank, 1283 Elm Street. So, yeah, I'm here just to talk about my concern about the staff turnover for the MECO director position, echoing what Akia shared. It's really concerning that there's been 3 directors who've resigned within 3 years, and it strikes that lack of stability and that the kids have not had a consistent advocate who are in the program. And I would encourage the superintendent and the school committee to look into what systemic issues could be at work. I think if this was happening at any program in the district, we would pay attention and want to be curious about that. I'm wondering if there's been exit interviews with the directors to find out if there were concerns or issues, just ways to be, so we could change and make changes going forward. It does seem like it's important for the director to have authority over the budget and the program as a whole. If they don't have authority over the budget, they're really hamstrung and can't really do the initiatives that they want to do. And I really feel strongly that our Boston students, just like the rest of the students here in Concord, deserve consistent and empowered leadership, and I encourage you all to make that happen. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any more online?
No.
Okay. All right, that concludes the public comment. So we're going to move next to the consent agenda.
I have one item for you to note. The very first warrant for the region, 1073, should be $525. It's listed at $252. It had been incorrectly executed and has been revised.
Okay.
So I just want to ask you to change that.
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve the consent agenda as written with the one adjustment of warrant 1073 dated 10/1/24. Instead of it being $252, it would be $525.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. We'll move on to correspondence. From the region, we had a couple come in. One was just confirming that the website was correct as to who is in attendance, or who sits here, including the MECO representatives. So we confirmed that. We had another question come in about dropping off of Zoom. We've responded to that. I think that's everything from the region.
Nothing into CPS.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to move on to the superintendent chairs and liaisons update. Why don't we start with you, Dr. Hunter?
Great, thank you. I have just a few updates tonight. A week ago Saturday, Justin Sparks and I were able to meet with the Concord Preservation Committee, and we talked about the grant that we submitted for the Thoreau Campus project. It was a really positive meeting, a lot of great questions. We are set to present to them formally on October 29th, and to do the information a little more formally, whereas when you're walking around, it's a lot less formal. But I think we're off to a great conversation with them. We are actively pursuing a number of other grants. We're grateful for all of Shelley's work. DESI's got some additional competitive grants up. We've had some success over the last year, so we're looking at those. We've also spotted a couple other smaller grants. Emerson Hospital has one up now. So we're really trying to tap as many revenue sources as possible. And of course, best grant writing is when the initiatives you're already working on fit the grant definitions, and we're seeing a lot of correlation there, which I think is also very validating in many cases. It's amazing, the progress at the new school. I was able to walk through a week and a half ago. Can't wait to get back out there next week. It's drywall and paint and the building coming to life. The lights are on. The auditorium's drywalled and painted. It's really quite something. So a lot of positive energy there, a lot of work to be done as we really look at the move logistics and all that that's going to encumber and entail. And I'm just going to keep saying the schedule is very, very tight, but a lot of great momentum and activity going out on that construction site. And lastly, we're in a week or so, a little longer maybe, about to launch a new district webpage. It's been a 2-year project building behind the scenes. If you try to find anything on the current one, it's dense and cumbersome on a good day. So we're excited for a clean slate while we preserve the important information, but I think everyone from parents to community to students to staff is going to find it a lot more accessible and usable. So excited for that, and we'll be sure to notify you when the official live launch happens.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. Tracy, you want to go next with your updates?
Sure. I went to the select board meeting last night. I am their liaison. We were on there in a couple different spots, so I wanted to just report on where we kind of intersect with the schools. Megan Zamuno presented about the disposition of the Peabody School. So they're requesting an appraisal of the 3 parcels of land. So it's the school, the fields, and the septic system, for lack of a better term, or sewers. I don't really know what to call that third parcel. So they're going to go out for appraisals and see kind of what they can do with the land. We had also talked at our joint meeting about the letter of interest that Anthony suggested be sent out. So they were trying to figure out the appraisal first, then the letter of interest will go out to see who's interested in possibly developing that land. And I think the only other spot that we kind of intersected, I'm just looking, the Financial Audit Committee, which Cynthia's on, right? Cynthia and Brian, you guys are on that? So they did say we should, I'll actually let you update that because I'm sure I'll get that wrong about the update from that meeting.
So we don't have the formal letter yet.
Yep, right.
So that'll have the good detail we can send around to the committee. We're going to meet tomorrow. We are not, which the chair
Okay.
presented her letter.
Okay.
Summarizing the findings of the auditor, am I telling him the correct name? But I don't think, Brian can correct me if I'm wrong, there was no significant findings of any kind in the audit of the region. So, but we'll send the letter around.
Microphone.
Oh.
It's coming out for you. Sorry.
We'll send the letter around. I'm not sure when we're going to meet next. We're not clear on that. So within the next month, but.
Yeah, and I don't think there was anything else where we really intersected there, except for their December 2nd meeting. They're hoping to discuss the roles of liaisons. So I know that that's been something that we've been looking to discuss too, so it's just helpful that that's all going to happen at the same time. And then the DAI Commission is meeting tomorrow night at 7 at the Townhouse and in person.
Awesome.
Or on Zoom, sorry. Townhouse and Zoom.
Great.
And I was going to ask about, we'll talk about the Finance Committee during our budget update, so, right? They haven't met, have they met?
I don't liaise with them.
That's what Alexa.
I liaise with them.
They haven't met, right?
Well, they met a couple weeks ago, and I thought the only thing that was interesting is in their discussion of MCI, it seemed like there was some discussion about how, depending on how MCI is developed, it could really positively impact the town or really negatively impact the town. And then additionally, I was listening to your panel with the league, and people were talking about how the increased housing might affect the schools. And just one of the things that I thought about was that it was a little odd that the school committee doesn't have representation on the MCI committee, given that so much, I don't know, I just think from a town perspective, sometimes they forget about us and don't appoint us to some things that might be worth having a seat at the table. And just given the context of the way the Finance Committee was talking about it, it just sort of struck me as that might be something we would want to talk about, having a more formal role in, especially if the development is going to really impact us in a significant way.
Yeah, and they did talk about last night, I missed one of the numbers, but there are 200-plus units going in at Novo, 200-plus at the Row.
The Thoreau Club.
The Thoreau Club site. 82 units at Junction Village, and 5 other units that are going to come online. And then there's another housing going up at Main Street and Route 2. So
that's before MCI.
That's before MCI.
And
so
the Superfund site too.
Yeah, 2229. So I think there's a lot of discussion that probably we should have representation on if we can get there, because all of those units are going to affect the schools.
Yep.
Yeah. That's good. Brian, we have our meeting this week, but.
Yeah, just a quick update. So I've had a chance to connect with our liaison for the Carlisle FinCom as well as Carlisle Select Board. Those two committees are actually meeting in about 27 minutes to talk about the budget planning for this year, capital planning through fiscal year 30 as well. So while I'm not obviously at that meeting tonight, some of us have a meeting with them tomorrow. So Bob, Lori, Julie, and I will be meeting with the two liaisons just to kind of reflect on last year and start to prepare for what's coming.
That's great. Any other committees we missed? Carrie, you want to start with our chair's update?
Yeah, sure. So Alexa alluded to this. Julie and I sat down at the League of Women Voters first fall meeting last Thursday. Was that last week? And it was with the chair of FinCom, chair of the Select Board 2229, and Walden Pond Commission. And everyone kind of gave an update on what has been happening over the last 6 months and where things are heading in the next year. So we talked a lot about our goals that we are planning on voting on tonight, and answered a couple of questions about various topics. But it was a great event, and it's always nice to be in the good one forum.
That's great.
So that's one.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Did they include Carlisle Select Board and Carlisle FinCom as part of that? No?
They should, though, because it's
Should, yeah.
Concord
I mean,
Carlisle
League of Women Voters for both, yeah.
It's the Concord Town Government Committee that's, so we do have this.
Sponsors it?
Yeah, we don't really have an active Carlisle.
We'll work on it.
Yeah.
I hear you. We'll get it going.
That's a good point. So Tracy, Alexa, and I are tasked with the story of the school. We talked about delaying that until January.
I'm not tasked with that.
Tracy, Lori, and I.
Yes. But wasn't
You were just
Brian
promoted to
was going to join
superintendent.
us too? Didn't you offer to join us too on that?
Yeah.
I think
Brian as well. Yep.
Oh, I totally missed that. I'm sorry.
Both of you actually can. No, you can't.
No.
Only one really can.
yeah, I think I said sort of
If you needed
maybe?
ad
Okay,
hoc
great.
as needed.
Great. So, and Brian, not Alexa, and Lori. And anyway, we are pushing it off until January to focus this fall on the budget. And so we will start in earnest. The idea is to have something tangible for town meeting. And then we would obviously distribute it electronically elsewhere, so. The Thoreau Playground Committee meets every Friday. They are full of energy, have a lot of ideas on supplemental fundraising to, curb the cost of that project. So it's exciting to see that project move forward. And we have the PTG meeting tomorrow, so if anyone has anything for that group, let us know.
Yeah, the only things I would add is I cannot emphasize enough the goals. So even some of the things that came up in public comment, when we go through the goals later on, you'll see some of those things rise up. So thank you to Domingos and Aisha as well. So we have started a weekly cadence of connecting just this past week. So that's one piece. Bi-weekly, thank you. It's hard to keep track of everything. And then in addition to that, I think just reemphasizing the connection with FinCom this week that we have. So we have Carlisle tomorrow and then with Concord on Friday. And just we'll get into a bit more on the budget in a little bit, but just trying to stay ahead of everything in addition to the capital planning that we're doing collaboratively. So no shortage of things happening. Looking forward to those conversations. But in the meantime, let's move on to the discussion. I see we have some guests in the room. So why don't we move on to the YRBS results, Youth Risk Behavior Survey. And so Lori shared the report in advance with us, but we have two representatives, Allison Nowicki, the guidance chair, as well as Christina Johnson, the wellness coordinator. Why don't you all come on up?
Brian Miller's here too from the high school, and then we have middle school representation
Yes,
as well.
Justin, nice to see you again.
Come on up.
Come on up.
Come on up. Introduce the middle school? Yeah, so Mr. Cameron's still here, and Megan, our health teacher, is also here. Just as they're getting settled, there's a lot of data in the YRBS results from this past spring. The entirety of the data is posted on the webpage. It's also linked in within the slides that are attached to the agenda if people want to dig in. They're going to highlight selections and highlights of the data because it's too much for one night.
Sure.
But I think you'll find a really great conversation ahead. And they're really here to talk with you, not at you, so let's make it interactive.
And Megan, I apologize. I saw you in the hallway, and I missed introducing you. My apologies.
So Mr. Miller's running the slides. Thank you. So we're alternating between the two schools so that we can make our way through strengths, areas of growth, and then next steps or needs or.
Do we want to talk on each slide, or?
I think so.
Run through all the slides and then.
I think let's talk on each one because the topics change as you go.
Yeah.
Great, so we'll kick it over to you folks. I think we're starting with the middle school.
Yep, so the way this is organized is we're going to talk about strengths at the middle school, and then we're going to hop right over to strengths 9 through 12 as well. So here are 3 areas of strength or growth that the data suggests that we made at the middle school. One of them is less stress in stressful situations connected to school, significant decrease in self-harm and depression, and significant decreases in thoughts of suicide. And you see our growth in all of those in those screen grabs.
Does anyone have any questions on those before we move on?
Just, I think, great work. I mean, just really big improvements cannot be underscored.
Hi, I'm Christina Johnson. I'm the wellness coordinator and a school psychologist at the high school. My first time here, so thank you for welcoming me. So, with this slide, we do have so many strengths at the high school. We have poured a lot of energy, effort, thought into improving our supports for our students. And when we saw the results from the YRBS, we really saw a reflection of what we've been doing, which was nice. In terms of belonging, 92% of students report that they have a sense of belonging at the high school, and that's up from 91% in 2022. And also, 92% of students report that they have a trusted adult at school, and that's up from 87% in 2022. And this is a subject that we're continuing to work on and strive to improve on, but it's nice to see that, you know, our efforts are on the right, we're on the right path. In terms of adult support at school, 72% of students report that they feel supported by adults at the school, and that is up from 68% in 2022. Looking at, you know, depression, self-harm, suicidal ideation, these are topics I think that are hard to talk about, hard to ask about. You know, it's a difficult matter, but it's necessary that we do it. And so from these results, we see that rates of reported depression are down from 27% to 14%. Rates of self-harm are down from 20% to 12%.
That's amazing. Like, can you just pause there for like that? Those two stats are so incredible.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
It is, and I think it takes our whole, you know, it takes the whole community and connections with students. And also I think students helping each other and also talking to adults in the school.
I think to Carrie's point, though, just really quickly, I think if I did my math correct, I think for every percentage point of improvement, it impacts 13 kids. And so when I hear that, like, it's really moving when we're talking about statistics around like wellness and depression and suicide. Like, that is great work, and it's so impactful. So I agree with you.
Yeah, and I think we've been working, you know, certainly I think all of our staff members work to have those close connections with students, but also I think universally, you know, what are we doing as a school, as a whole culture within our building to promote general wellness and education among everyone, and then really targeting more effort and more energy with those that really need support. Yeah.
From both like a data perspective and sort of anecdotally what you all observe, because you're in there, it seemed like data indicated in the years approaching 2020 that all of these sort of negative feelings with kids, just specifically around anxiety and depression, were on an upward trajectory. Obviously, we know the data supports that in 2020 it sort of supercharged that. So in some ways, so like, I guess my question is, if you take out the 2020 supercharge and you look at what was the still troubling and upward trajectory, do you find that this data and what you see in schools, do you feel like that's leveling or coming down, or just sort of returning to that normal, somewhat crappy upward trajectory? And I ask that not to lead you, because I see anecdotally a big change in the kids that are around me in my house, like wherever I am. And I don't know if that's anecdotal to me, or if you're seeing that in a bigger, more macro kind of way.
I think I need to go back and look at some of the more data from before the last time. We didn't do this in 2020 because of the shutdown. So the last time was 2018. I want to see a little more data to see what that actually looked like. I mean, we were I remember 2019 was the year that a group of us, Lori remembers this, we had a grant from the state where we were meeting with 5 school districts, people from Emerson Hospital, people from Advocates, people from Elliott, and someone from Bright, and we were all talking about this problem. One of the stats that we were told was that the number of hospitalizations had doubled in 10 years. Right. So I haven't heard any new data about that. So I'm curious to know more, right? Like to find out a little bit more. I was surprised by these numbers. Like happily surprised.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Not in a bad way. I was happily surprised. Because I think sometimes in our role as a psychologist and a counselor, often we can get stuck in the yucky, right? Like we get a lot of kids who are, like we're really helping those really hard cases. So it's sometimes harder for us to see the bigger picture sometimes, but I'm curious to know. I mean, I think it's worth looking into.
Yeah.
I've honestly seen a dramatic shift in the culture and the climate, 6 through 12. A lot, I think, has to do with the work that we did in 2016 and 17, partnering with Challenge Success, and then adopting initiatives like advisory. And I remember coming to the district in 2017 and just asking why. Why are we looking to do advisory? And the teachers who are leading that initiative just said we need to provide space for kids just to have fun. Now I see that up at the high school with their Fun Fridays. I see an opportunity for kids just to be kids. And, you know, kids even 17 and 16 years old. And there just seems to be a shift. There's a competitive, scholastic focus that was very heavy. And I felt like I came to this district that I think has lightened the kids that are speaking to me.
Totally.
We're very fortunate to have a lot of the CC kids come visit us down at the middle school, and they share that as well.
Awesome.
And I think recently, too, we've been giving like a lot of time and space for students to voice themselves. It's really important to us, you know, at least speaking for the high school. And when they do, you know, they can say, we need this, and we would know that otherwise. So we can really focus in our work to
Has
meet them.
FlexBlocks been able to facilitate and enhance that? Like, is that where you're doing it?
Yeah.
We're sort of jumping ahead to our last slide, but yes, I truly believe that FlexBlock has had a major impact on our student population and their wellness and what they need. I mean, they're able to get extra help during the school day in a block that's dedicated for that, or to, you know, go to the gym and shoot basketballs because that's what they need to do. So I think it's made a big difference.
That's great.
It's hard to know exactly what that, you know, what that number is. It's like, I think we all felt it last year. There was just this like release of like, oof, that's really so helpful.
And I think we've tried like a lot all at once, so it's hard to say
It's
like
hard to
this
know.
has helped this specific thing, but all together, I think there is improvement. So that's something. And then I know. Then I have to go to this one. We were on such an uplifting. Rates of suicidal ideation is also down 12% to 6%. And then in terms of, you know, we think about resilience, right? Can students feel like they can handle challenges that come to them repeatedly? Like, are they equipped to manage it? And then from the YRBS, you know, they say that, you know, students are saying that they have a hard time making it through stressful situations? And that is also down from 37% to 31%. For me, it's always a work in progress. I want to work on resilience, but this is good. We're getting there. And in terms of homework, you know, our students are busy, right? Either with after-school activities, they're busy during the day, perhaps they commute home. So hours of homework, when we look at that, you know, those that are doing 3 or more hours of homework per night is down from 47% to 40%. And that's been intentional in the high school, you know, in terms of teachers. Focus in school, you know, rates of losing focus in school due to phone use is down from 6% to 3%. Again, they're intentional policies that maybe kids are not too keen on, but, you know, it helps them learn. And they will feel good about that, right? Maybe, we hope. But you know, those are just generally the areas of growth that we saw from this survey.
And just so people know, we also looked at the aggregate, so we were sent another summary of findings of all of the districts that were doing this, and across the board, our numbers are very similar. And there was a time when our stress numbers were way higher than the aggregate. And it's so nice to see that they've come down to where the aggregate is.
That's great. All right, areas of growth.
Hi, my name is Megan Laughlin. I am the 7th grade health teacher at Concord Middle School. And I'm going to speak a little bit about what we identified as being some of our areas where there is an opportunity for improvement in students' health and well-being. If you look at the screenshot at the top, this shows that students in both 6th and 8th grade have experienced a slight increase in bullying at school from the year 2020 to 2022 to 2024. On the bottom right is an image that breaks down some of the ways in which people who are students who are transgender, students who identify as non-binary, and students who identify with a sexuality other than heterosexuality show increased rates of not feeling as though they belong at school. They are more likely to have been bullied, sexually harassed, depressed, to engage in self-harming behaviors, and to consider suicide. Moving on to the third bottom left image. This shows that we have a number of students in 6th grade and in 8th grade who, if we were to think about 62 to 61% of 6th graders in 2024 do feel that they would be helped by adults at school. In 8th grade, we see lower percentages of students feeling as though they would receive the help that they need if they were experiencing bullying at school.
Hi, I started talking before and I didn't introduce myself. I'm Allison Nowicki, Chair of the Guidance Department at the high school. Some areas of growth for us. So we did, actually we didn't mention this, but the number of students that have been reporting high or very high levels of stress has gone down. It went down from 64% to 61%, but it's still over 60%. It is similar to the aggregate too, so we're sort of like, right? And I think we've all acknowledged that school is what adolescents do, and it's going to be stressful. And so we as a group have to think about what is the healthy struggle, where is the healthy stress, what is too much stress. So it's something we'll continue to talk about. I was encouraged to see that the numbers have gone down and that we're similar to the aggregate, as I mentioned before. While our numbers regarding suicide consideration are down, those who do consider it have a high rate of making a plan and following through. And here we actually are higher than the aggregate, which is an interesting statistic. So of those that consider suicide, 53% make a plan, as opposed to 49% of the aggregate. And 55% of those make a plan, follow through, versus 41% of the aggregate. We don't really have an answer for that one, just something for us to continue to work on and talk with kids and make sure that they're asking for help when they need it, and we'll sort of continue to have those conversations with students and staff. And one of the things we are going to also do is do a staff training about signs to look for, how they can help. So we'll be doing that.
Do you need any help? Do you need, sorry, over here.
Yeah.
Do you need anything from us or anything?
I don't think so. One of our school adjustment counselors, Dan Simone, and I were both trained in the youth mental health first aid curriculum. It's very hard to put into motion. It's a long PD for people to do, and it was really hard for us to get a lot of people to do it. But we both, between that training and our own sort of experience of doing similar trainings, we've just sort of made up on the fly for staff. I think we're in good shape right now. We just have to sort of plan it out and make sure we have the time.
Okay.
We're hoping that we can get some time in January when we have this like PD time for staff. Because that was an area, it was an area that had come up in a different survey that staff felt like they might not, that they don't have the skills at this point. They wouldn't really know what to do. We also saw that our marginalized populations show a lot more vulnerability, really across the board. They're showing, especially for the LGBTQ+, they're sort of non-traditional gender identity students, they are showing higher rates of depression, self-harm, and suicide consideration. They're bullied at higher rates, showing more stress. More than half of the LGBTQ+ report that they have a hard time dealing with stressful events, and that's as opposed to 28% of our population. Another interesting stat I thought I'd throw in there was 37% of our females also are reporting higher stress than sort of the average of the school. And all of those students who report feeling more stress from school are more likely to get less than 6 hours of sleep, feel more pressure from home, and are more likely to be depressed. So just it all compounds. We had 77% of our students reporting that they get less than 7 hours of sleep per night. Similar to the aggregate. It's just sort of, we continue to struggle with that. We can't make them go to sleep earlier. We don't live with them, but we would like them to get more. Because we know that, the more tired you are, the harder it is to deal with stress, the more depressed you might feel. Like it's sort of a snowball. It's odd, but students sending or receiving sexually explicit messages is up from 15% to 20%. And those who engage with one risky behavior, no matter what that is, are really more likely to engage with other risky behaviors. It's not a surprise. But those who use e-cigarettes are more likely to view pornography, drink alcohol, use marijuana, send and receive sexually explicit messages, and be more depressed, et cetera. Yep. Were there any questions?
So I think we're moving to a place of, it was mentioned earlier, the support that we're looking for. I have to be honest, in putting together this slide, if you gave me one school committee meeting, I have one chance to ask something, it would be this slide. No doubt about it. So just want to thank all of you for your support. What's not mentioned on the slide is Megan, the 7th grade health teacher. We have a 6th grade health teacher, Maria McDermott, who teaches our facts and family and consumer science course, but it is also a health course as well. We also made a pretty dramatic shift last year of taking a lot of these themes that were being taught in 7th and 8th grade health and bringing it down to 6th and 7th. Quite frankly, 8th grade, we felt that a lot of these themes and a lot of these lessons were getting to the kids too late. I saw that firsthand because kids were in my office having broken some very significant rules, and it's upon me to just self-reflect and think, where are we teaching this? So Megan's hire in spring of 2022? 2023. When she was hired, she was told that we're shifting everything down to 6th and 8th grade. So continued support of those curriculums. And then these bullets, as I'm putting them together, a lot of these, I also feel like I have asked for continued support over the years in visiting this group. Our universal screeners, we're using DESA right now for a social and emotional universal screener. All students, 6 through 8, take the universal screener. And we use that data. It's not just data to say, ooh, we should be proud of ourselves in these areas, and here are some areas we got to do better. We use these to build intervention groups that all of our school psychologists, our guidance counselors, and our administrators are leading classes. And that wasn't happening 5 years ago. Instead, our counselors and our school psychologists, they were in offices waiting for students to come to them. Now we're going to them, and we're using this data. So a continued support in those data universal screeners. In our MTSS, emotional intervention classes called Parent SSP, again, led by our guidance counselors, our adjustment counselors, our school psychologists. A big bully prevention program, as you all know, is our Playbook Initiative, where we focus on actual scenarios of bullying and harm done. This year, we're actually looking at scenarios that have recently been done in other school districts. And the kids are asking whether or not we should be using those to really feel connected to harm done in other districts. Then continued support of our bias incident reporting form, where most schools adopted this tool for students this past spring. We've had it at the Concord Middle School for 3 years, and we've had multiple student assemblies really giving them access to that agency and using this bias incident reporting form if they have harm done to themselves or they're witness of harm. As you saw earlier this evening, continued support of our positive behavioral incentive supports or systems, which is PBIS. Continued support of our advisory program, Home Base, where we deliver a lot of this curriculum. And finally, more professional development for teachers and staff and supporting the LGBTQ+ population for training and assemblies for students in this population. Questions that might be middle school focused?
One question, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I have a question. Sorry. In terms of programming, what do you think has had the biggest impact? Like when you're talking about anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, what programs that you're doing in the middle school do you think have had the largest impact? And do you need more resources from us?
I can speak a bit about what the 7th grade health curriculum entails with regards to addressing student mental health, anxiety, and depression. So each year we have a stress and coping strategies unit during which we do address what is the difference between day-to-day stress and the need to practice healthy coping strategies versus what could be some indicators that a student is experiencing anxiety or depression. And we use that as an opportunity to discuss who in the building students could go to if they have concerns about themselves or about a friend.
Great.
Justin, would you have more information about screening for depression and suicide risk?
Yep, that's part of our DESA universal screener that, again, all students take every trimester. And again, that data feeds into those intervention groups, that students are not just placed in a lunch group like maybe some other schools, they're placed in a class that meets every other day for 4 months. And again, the license of the school psychologist or the adjustment counselor or the guidance counselor are leading those classes. When I hear program, I also hear initiative. School principal in me hears initiative. You know, and I think of our home base, which was homegrown by teachers. Teachers led that. Just a continuation and support of that. Make no mistake about it, we're about to fix what has been fundamentally broken for decades in Concord Middle School, and that's a two-building model. Most important to me in these screeners is kids feeling connected to adults. And when they arrive to the middle school, the way we reconfigured the middle school has them making connections for 1 year, and then the kids leave that connection to go to the next building. It's me, the music teachers, are their familiar faces this time of year. So if you were to survey all my 7th graders what middle school would want their 7th graders to feel like connected to adults, our data is not good because of the two-building model. So we're about to fix something that home base has really brought to us, and I think we're about to see our numbers really go up in the area of kids feeling connected to adults. So support in our advisory.
Awesome.
That's a great point. One of the, my only question was on the professional development. Can you talk a little bit about the last bullet? Like, what does that entail? And are there specific programs, specific trainings you're suggesting or hoping to bring in?
Yeah, we've been partnered with, and Lori, I'm forgetting the actual group. Jeff Peralty is his name.
Safe Schools,
at a DESE, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed. And he brought in, it's now quietly, 5 years ago, he brought in some professional development for the leadership team. And we really charged Jeff in bringing Jeff in his professional development down to the schools. We need to bring that back. And we need.
He's awesome.
Yes, incredible. And not only that, he does such a powerful job in actually connecting with the students and finding ways to get the students. 1 year that I worked with him, he brought myself and some other students to a panel. And we presented, I think it was McLean Hospital, is where myself and some students just ended up. It was myself and some GSA students. So I think retapping and relooking at some resources that we've had in place that we just need to look at this data and say we need to bring back.
Because the middle school, in my opinion, working in a school is so important for those vulnerable communities, you know, and if you can give that person a really good feeling about being in school and being with their peers, that's huge. Thank you. Since I now have a mic, I just want to jump in and say there's so much information that is home, not school related in here. So I think it's critical, and some of it's really good. I think parents should see it. But some of the things you really don't have control. Sleep, devices in bedrooms. I mean, I think, and I made that mistake as a parent, and I realize now it's a huge mistake. As much as they beg you plead with you until their life is going to be over if they don't have their device in their bedroom. So, and there's a lot of other stuff in there. So I think it's critical that we communicate to the families, the great things that we're doing and the things that we need to work on. So,
and as a reminder, you were all very supportive. If this was a student laptop, this powers down in just a few hours and is not available to the students overnight. That was us demonstrating.
At the middle school.
Yeah, I was like, that was us demonstrating and modeling to our parents that whatever device that is outside of their student laptop that they have should also power down or not be in that bedroom.
What time does it power down? I know you've.
Yeah, it's right now 11. We do want to survey all of our parents and caregivers to see if 11 feels too late. It does for me.
Yep.
On the record, it does for me. I'll hear from my 8th grade home base tomorrow.
Yes, you will.
Cynthia kind of had my comment, but I'd be curious if parents took this exact survey, especially at the middle school, like what the results would show. I do feel like a lot of these initiatives are great, but you're kind of taking a lot of the responsibility. I personally feel like it should be on the parents in some instances. So maybe a future initiative is, giving this exact survey to parents and educating them on some of the deltas.
Great.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the resources and sort of some of the things that we, some of the things that we have implemented already and some new things that are coming up this year. So we have had some mental health speakers over the years. Last year we brought in somebody from Minding Your Mind. This year we actually have Nick Tucker coming, who came 2 years ago, I think, and spoke to our 11th and 12th graders. He's a really fabulous speaker. He talks about, his keynote is called The Key to Resilience. He speaks about his family trauma, what he grew up with, and how he was able to excel, and he wants to teach some practical skills for kids. So that's Nick. We also, I did schedule a Minding Your Mind speaker, but I then came across the next one, who is Wes Woodson. This is kind of a funny connection. I talked with him, and it turns out he's from Sharon, Massachusetts, and his dad was a Concord METCO alumni. I was like, this is just meant to be. We have to get you here. So we're working on this one right now, but we're hoping that he's going to come do a parent evening as well as 2 keynotes. So he'll talk to the entire student body and then also offer some targeted workshops for our BIPOC students. We're really excited about that one. We think we have the funding. We're just sort of working out the last pieces. But his, I think his keynote is called I Have Anxiety, So What? We also have, we switched, actually, we did the DESA for the last few years, but we've switched to Panorama this year. We're going to give that a try. We're going to pilot that SEL screener. We already did a test drive with a smaller group of students, and we're excited about the results we've seen so far. So we're going to be, I think I finally got the 9th graders all in, so we're going to do that in the next week. I think we'll get the 9th graders screened. And then last year, we were really lucky. We partnered with Cartwheel Care. We are partnering with them again. For those who don't know, Cartwheel is a way for students to get virtual therapy very quickly. They used to say within 10 days. I don't give that timeline anymore because some of it depends on when the parents get back to them, and there can be a little bit of a process in there. But their goal is to give young people sort of short-term counseling, and then if they continue to need counseling, then they would try to connect you with somebody outside of Cartwheel. They also offer parent guidance, so we've offered that to parents along the way, and they will also connect you with psychiatric medicine if you need it. And then new this year, they are going to be offering family therapy to those who after they start to do the individual counseling, they're going to sort of layer in some other pieces.
And also staff.
Yes, staff. We also have any staff member at Concord Carlisle can reach out anonymously to Cartwheel. We won't know who they are to get virtual therapy as well. Not family members, but staff members.
Wow.
Yep.
Also, the high school has several partnerships with outside organizations because it's important that we don't operate in a bubble, because we might be thinking we're doing great things and then, but it's important to have experts from outside of our district look at what we're doing and saying, these are your strengths and these are the things that you should work on, and give us ideas. So we are working with the Lavinia Group. They help educators perform at their best, and then students can perform at their best. That's the idea, right? They're working with the English department, the math department, science department. English and math worked with them over the summer. Science is working with them over this year. It's become clear that our marginalized students are struggling the most. So together, they're all looking at the curriculum and pedagogy and just seeing how we can strive towards equity, because that's the vision for the high school. We also work with Challenge Success and the JED Foundation. Both organizations have, we've taken, or our population, students and staff have taken surveys with them looking at school climate, culture, mental health, social emotional supports, and also increasing student voice. So really, they've helped us assess where we are, intervene, given us ideas of interventions, and then reassess. Challenge Success worked closely with our leadership team last year. Students joined us. It was quite a remarkable group. We did a lot of great work together. We used their survey before COVID, and this year, Challenge Success is surveying the students
Next week,
next
yeah.
week.
Yep.
Okay, next week we are surveying the students again. And speaking with Brian earlier, you were saying that there's real longitudinal data there, to look at what was said before, how we're doing right now. So to say that we're utilizing outside supports to help us as well. And then thinking about just general student supports, with my position, I started as the wellness coordinator last year. And I work with, I lead the wellness committee. It's a really good group that works together. We have a lot of fun, and we put a lot of things into action. And our, like Dr. Hunter, you've spoken about Fun Fridays. I mean, that's been seen, that's part of our work to kind of scaffold connection, the importance of play, the importance of joy, and to see a lot of smiles is pretty remarkable, and to have that balance between the work and the play and have both be important, because I think they do complement one another. And also, Lenny Learning is curriculum seen through our health and fitness department, with our students really destigmatizing mental health, learning about mental health, talking about it, help-seeking behaviors. So a lot of the students are being educated.
Just so people know, that's the Brain Health Boot Camp that was started by,
Brain Health.
oh my gosh.
Bjork.
Yeah, the
Bjork family,
thank you.
yeah.
Right.
They've grown a lot.
And my Flex Learning, yes, we've talked about Flex Blocks. It's been pretty remarkable. I think students and staff alike really see the benefit of it, whether students want academics or to decompress or to be creative. It's been, and just to have breathing space within the week rather than be on the constant hamster wheel, has been a huge positive shift. Technology. So last year we introduced phone caddies, or was it last year or the year before?
Yeah, last year.
Last year, phone caddies, where students, when they enter a classroom, they have to put their phone in the caddy so they can focus, right? Focus on their learning, and that's just been normalized now, so they know what to expect. And this year, what's new is that in terms of iMessenger, it's turned off. Like, they cannot message one another within the school hours.
On the laptop.
On the laptop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when
but
they
that's
put the phone in the caddy, guess what? They're pivoting to the laptop.
Right.
With the old phone that
I
doesn't.
know, there are always loopholes.
Yes.
We're trying.
I know, it's just hard.
But yes, this is all to place importance on learning and to have help everyone focus. And you can.
Yeah, and I think, this is not new, but the ninth grade academy model, I think, has had a really major impact on the students' transition to the high school. For me, as a staff member who is part of a team, I can very, very easily say that I have never known my ninth graders so quickly and so well. And also using the flex blocks, I have already met all of my ninth graders, and I'm now starting to sort of see them individually as well. So that's been the ninth grade academy model has been really just a great thing that we introduced and have slowly sort of added to. It was one of those things we added during COVID, and we weren't sure how it was going to go, but you know, might as well just go with it. And I just wanted to highlight some of the stuff we've done in my department, in the guidance and counseling department. So obviously, we as counselors are resources to the students and families, but we also connect them to resources outside of the school. We've been doing seminars in flexes throughout the year. We're sort of revising our plan for this year, but the idea is, instead of taking the kids' free block, like their study hall, we're using the flex block time to get through important information with them and to make connections with them, right? Just to get to know them better. Last year we pulled together an alumni panel, and we're going to do that again this year. We had 7 alumni come back and talk about their very winding path through life, just to sort of highlight the multiple paths to success. We also did a military fair last year, which was it was incredibly well attended. And we've been doing those sort of college information sessions as well during flex blocks. We also have John Belmont, who's a community member. His kids went through the high school. He is a West Point grad, and he's just offered up his time left and right to talk to kids individually, talk to families, run groups, just sort of get information out there. We're actually going to do a webinar in November. I finally got that one on the books. So he's going to do a sort of an overview of the military, the options, what you can do, like what the different roles are in the military. And some new work that we're doing this year as a department is we are really thinking about how we can differentiate our work with our low-income first-generation and/or BIPOC families as they are entering high school, going through high school, and thinking about post-high school. So we're hopefully going to be working with somebody to sort of help us think about that process. The final thing we just want to bring up, there's a little calendar down the bottom. We've done a lot of work over the years just sort of to support students. One is no homework weekends. We have one every month. We just had one over Kicks weekend. We do coordinated assessments. So there tend to be big weeks for assessments, and we say during those weeks, Monday and Wednesday are these 2 departments, Tuesday and Thursday are these 2 departments. That really helps the kids to not have too many things on the same day. And we implemented reading periods, so it's the 2 days before exams start. Teachers can't introduce new work. It's really about time to synthesize what you're doing and make sure you understand what's going to happen next and move on.
Great.
Yeah. Awesome.
I mean, I think you can hear we have volumes of data, both aggregate and individual student. There's obviously been a lot of intentionality at every level here to have this spectrum of things going on, whether it's services, SEL education, changes in how we structure ourselves and the influence we have through those structures. We're really proud of all this, and there's still work to be done. So.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway, I look forward to this presentation every year because I feel like, I think you said something early on when this is my 3rd year almost. And you said if students aren't mentally well, they can't, it affects every aspect of their life. They can't really show up as a student or an athlete. You have to address the person before you can address the, academic side of kids. And I've paid attention to that. I had that in my mind as I think about over the years, all of these different presentations about all of the wellness things that you all are doing. And I think this is, what I'm hearing is that through data like the YRBS, through staff data, through so many different data sources were discussed tonight about marrying all of that together to piece together a strategy to really affect kids. And no, it's not perfect, but there's still a lot of kids who are hurting, and we have to find them, and you have to find them and help them. But the trend is going down, and that is amazing to see on so many different levels. So I really commend you on all of these different initiatives and efforts to help our kids be the best people that they can be.
Well said.
So I just want to point out too, when I think about, I'm so grateful that you guys came here to talk at a really in-depth level about what you're doing, because for me, the biggest takeaway was like, holy moly, just like not what I would normally say. This is a this is a tsunami of support that we have that is really, really thoughtful and intentional for all of the different types of kids that we have in our programs here. And it just even like a reminder to us that we always talk about, well, we want to see data so that we can, justifies the wrong word, but sort of support what we're doing and support the budgets that we're bringing to the taxpayers. And when you look at the data from the YRBS survey combined with the anecdotes that you all see in the buildings that you're sharing with us today, this says to me that it might never be enough, but we are in fact supporting kids and the money that we are spending in this area, which is such a new category of spending. We weren't doing this, 10 years ago. So it is a shock to the budget a little bit, because these are, what we call drivers here. So to show that we're seeing some gains that are tangible and statistically relevant, I just think we should all remember that as we approach these coming months. So thank you guys, because it's important for us to see that.
Yeah.
Because we have
and
to
I'm just going to shout out, when you write a strategic plan, and mental wellness, mental health, all of that is one of 4 objectives. And we live and breathe 2 of those objectives. It rose it right up to the top, and you can see what's happened in the last 6 years of those priorities, budgetary, time, resources, all of it coming together to really be a very comprehensive set of approaches. Yeah.
Thank you guys for
thank
advocating
you for
and
putting it
leading in that
together so
regard.
well.
I do have one more thing, because I'd be remiss. Just on 2 points. One of them is professional, one's personal. So I think the first one is, to Alexa's point, and I think this is really important, especially before a budget conversation, is I happen to work in healthcare, and I happen to do a lot with mental health. So I'm kind of a data nerd when it comes to this. So I just double checked, but the 5-year compound annual growth rate for mental health DRG codes, which is what claims, so when you go to the doctor, claims fund, it's expected to be a 7% rise. This is not going to calm. I think in a 10-year, it's around 12%. And that's for the general population. That doesn't even feed into the adolescent. So I think we just have to be really clear that you've done some really great work, but that does not mean that the storm is slowing.
No, not at all.
So I just want to say that publicly. I think it's really important for the public to understand that. I think second, on a personal note, I would be remiss to, it's funny, I look at this data all the time. I don't know if I'm going to get through this, but being a member of the LGBTQ, it's hard to hear it. I read it, and I'm gonna fight through this because I think it's important for people to see this. It's really hard when you put the numbers, and there's kids involved. So thank you. I really appreciate you supporting people that were like me. And I think second, if there's anything that I can do, I think it's important for kids to see it's hard, but it does get easier, even if I'm crying right now. Because I think you hear those numbers and you see those kids struggling, and it's really hard. So I don't want to just pass this off and just be mindless to it. I think it's really hard, and I really appreciate what you do.
I mean, to Julie's point, we can celebrate all these great things, but every data point there is a child in suffering.
Yeah.
And we lose sleep over that every night. So I don't want to skirt the severity and serious nature of the kids that are still struggling. We've hospitalized too many kids this fall already. Kids have gone into crisis just with the return to school. So it's great we can see growth. It's great we have all the systems in place, and there's still too much pain.
Yeah.
And you beat me to I was just going to make a final pitch. As a parent of a child who struggled, was rescued from probably drowning from teachers and coaches, it's still happening, and I just don't want to see those kids drown.
Yeah.
So it's just really important that we provide as much PD as possible to not only to you guys, but to parents, right?
Yeah.
Because it needs to be a conversation in all homes and all families about being sure we do the right thing and with empathy. So
Yes. Well said, Cynthia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate everything. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
It's a ring doorbell ring.
Not a budget.
Joe, that ring every
He wants to talk.
I can't wait to talk about budget.
You and Andrew.
Not just one, but three.
All right.
Can I just say one other thing? Like, it'd be great for parents to get this version of kind of the presentation of the data. Like, we're all data nerds around here. I love looking at it.
Yeah.
But I think when you hear their words, it's just, and that's one part that I think parents are, and I'm one of them, we're kind of failing at, is really participating in school parent type of, whether it's a conference, whether it's a professional development, but like parent ed. That has not come back from COVID. And I don't know
We're working
how to
on
get
it.
that information to, I mean, we tried last year.
Yeah, we're working on a number of ideas
Yeah.
to try to keep gathering people. There's been some real successes, like the middle schools run a really powerful series where the kids come with the adults.
Yeah.
So we're trying to see where the gains are. Shelley and I are talking with Adult and Community Ed, who has taken over Center for Parents and Teachers, for those of you who knew that group. Again, funding is the challenge, and do we charge and all that. So we're trying to figure out what the best fit for families is to reach them. I mean, I sat here every week, I sit and wait for the nugget of what I'm going to put in my Friday note. I think this is it, folks.
Totally.
Get the data in front of parents, share the slides, the link to the recording tonight. I think very clearly we want parents to be aware.
Yeah, and I think synthesizing it in the way that we did so people really understand it, and then there's been, we heard it during public comment, there's a request for data. We all have asked for data from different pockets of the community, and I think once we understand it, it can be actionable, and that's why I'm excited to get to the goals conversation, because I think we've identified a lot of that where we can do it. All right, so moving into the budget conversation, I think the first thing we just want to start with, I don't think we have to wait for Carrie to come back. I just want to read a statement that we prepared regarding out-of-district placement costs. The school committee typically does not comment on newspaper articles, but there was some recent coverage in both the Mosquito and the Bridge that we want to provide some additional context to our ongoing budget discussion, as we feel we need to provide more context to give the full picture of what is happening. So we've received questions from families and other town committees about the budget overage related to special education and out-of-district placements. Our priority is to keep all students in their community schools whenever possible, with their friends, their neighbors, their siblings. And we believe it's best for the students, families, and the community. However, there are instances when a student's needs surpass what we can provide in district, and we are legally required to seek specialized services, which can be costly. These decisions are made collaboratively with a great deal of thought and always with the student's best interest in mind. This year's increased costs are primarily driven by rising tuition rates at specialized schools and reduced state reimbursements. These challenges are not unique to our district and are affecting many communities across the state. We want to emphasize that our budget decisions are made with careful consideration, and while we plan for contingencies, some costs related to student needs are not always predictable within a budget cycle. The school committee, in partnership with Dr. Hunter and her administrative team, will continue to prioritize transparency and collaboration as we work with finance committee leaders in both Concord and Carlisle to address these challenges. I do want to thank Bob Conry and Dr. Hunter for bringing this information to us early in the process so we can work collaboratively for this upcoming fiscal year and ensure we manage in the most thoughtful and efficient way possible. Thank you.
I mean, from the administrative side and the leadership side, I got asked a couple of questions this week from parents of children with special needs of just like, does this mean we can never go out of district? Does this mean you can't afford it and it's going to be about the money and not my child? Of course not. We're really fortunate here that we've got such a spectrum of services in district now. Those didn't exist not that long ago, but it's always about whether we can meet the child's needs here or not, and money's not going to prohibit that. The law is very clear. Our well-being of kids is very clear that is not how we ride here. We have some reserves, so that was the other question I got asked, well, how are you going to pay for it? And I frankly just said, it's not your worry how I pay for it. But we do still have reserves. The main point of the discussion was we just didn't want any surprises. It's a trickier starting place for this budget, and it is our job to tell the school committee that, not in any way, shape, or form message anything to the parent community or the needs of children or the staff, that things are any different than they always have been. We're going to do right by the needs of the kids.
Well said. Yeah. All right, with that,
Ready?
we want to go into the end of year, fiscal year 24.
You get 3 fiscal years tonight, because I know you're excited by that.
We can start with, sorry, yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah, should I project or?
I think so.
Okay. I'm not a panelist, though, I don't think.
Oh, I can make you one. Sorry about that.
It is cold in here, right?
Yeah.
Chilly, yeah. I always dress for this room.
I know.
You never know. Just don't.
New England, right?
Yeah, I know.
Region, right?
Yeah, we're going to do CPS later.
Okay, so I'm sharing an update on the end of FY24's financial picture on the region. We are closed, the year's closed in the region. And so I've followed the format I did last year, is provide information, kind of big picture on the general fund, where we landed versus our operating budget. And I'll talk a little bit about excess and deficiency, which ties into revenues, and you've heard E&D referenced before. There's a section on revolving funds, just it's questions that school committees are interested, have communicated they're interested to see how certain key funds are doing, so that's included here. And then at the end, I have a report that I shared with you for the first time last year that kind of outlines all of the grants that we obtained last year, and high-level information on what they're used for. So I'll jump in, and on the general fund, I'm going to start off very high level, and then at the end of the report, I have more detail on it. But we essentially spent all of our general fund budget. We had an unencumbered, unspent balance of $740 at the end of FY24. Our initial budget was $37,811,098, and with the school committee's approval, an additional $395,888 was authorized to help us pay for the exit costs of Minuteman Neshoba Health Group, which we had not budgeted for. So our revised budget was $38,206,986, and of that, $740 was not spent. And I'll circle back to the general fund at the end of this with a little bit more detail. E&D is essentially the equivalent of free cash for a regional school district, like a municipality's free cash. There's different limits. Our permissible cap for E&D is 5% of our operating budget. On June 30, 2023, we were certified at $1,776,766, which is 4.7% of the FY24 budget. So we're pretty close to the cap. We anticipated that that would come down a bit this year because we had used $395,888 to pay for the exit costs, Minuteman Neshoba Health Group. However, we have revenue that's favorable by $394,000, essentially offsetting that in interest income. We didn't want to be too optimistic in our interest rate forecast, but I think we were a little bit more pessimistic than need be. And our FY25 budget reflects a little bit higher interest, so this is not something that we'll experience to the same extent in FY25. I will say this, there's a risk in getting aggressive in revenue budgets, because if you don't meet a revenue budget, you have to cut your spending. You can't just not, it impacts programs and students if you do that. So, but bottom line, I guess I'm forecasting that from an E&D perspective, there's other things that go into this, there's other offsets, but I'm forecasting that it will probably be fairly close to where we were last year at 4.7%, which is a healthy balance, and we were anticipating a significant drawdown. And there's a full exercise we need to go through to get that completed and certified by the state, but I'm optimistic that it's not going to be a large drop. State and federal grant funds, I'm actually going to skip that. That's at the end of this, but we do receive sources from both state and federal grant funds, and I'll go through that next after I go through the revolving funds. So the key revolving funds at the high school are adult ed, athletics, school lunch, circuit breaker. We do have small things like a lost books fund that has a couple $1,000s in it. I don't think that's necessarily the level of detail we want to be looking at. And so circuit breaker is what serves as kind of an offset to special education costs that are above kind of typical levels, which is 4 times the state average per pupil cost. And in FY24, we started with a balance of a little bit over $1 million. Our revenue was $1.6 million. That included extraordinary relief from the state. Our actual kind of core circuit breaker funds were $1,275,000 and change. And we received an additional approximately $350,000 in extraordinary relief and surplus relief, and that covers instances where you have kind of large increases beyond the norm, and they give you extra relief to help offset that. That was a budget saver for us. You can see that we spent most of that money. The expenses were $1,595,000. Without that circuit breaker relief, it would have been a challenge for us to navigate, more of a challenge for us to navigate last year. And the good news is that we end with a balance of $1,110,989 in circuit breaker. So, if we were not able to find any other offsets in FY25, you've heard our, kind of where we are in FY25. We do have this as reserve funds that we can pull from. We're going to get additional revenue for FY24 claims this year. On top of that, the best practice is to try not to spend your current claims and have a known amount that you can apply the following year against expenses. And we do budget to use circuit breaker as kind of a relief to out-of-district expenses. And you'll see that when we go through the budget process this year. So that's the main fund I wanted to point out. I guess the other funds I won't go into too much detail on. There's, I guess, a healthy balance in school lunch, almost too healthy. We're supposed to kind of maintain a certain level of reserves and not much more, and we're pretty close to that level, but we do have things that we can spend on. Athletics, we have budgeted a little bit more in FY25. We have, the balance has declined a bit over the last 2 years. In previous years, it had grown a bit. There are ebbs and flows there, and that's something we'll continue to monitor. Some of the adult ed decrease is due to timing issues. At the end of FY23, we actually pulled in some revenues that related to FY24 by summer programs. They started collecting the fees a little bit early, so there is a little bit of a drawdown there, but I think that will resolve itself in FY25. I've also just reported to you the amounts that we pulled in. We spend every dollar that we pull in for non-resident tuitions and facilities rental, but just for your information, facilities revolving fund pulled in $54,512 in FY24, and the non-resident tuitions was $80,500. And those are, for the non-resident tuitions, are supporting staff in the Pathways program, and the facilities rentals covering facilities maintenance costs. OPEB is a trust that's set up to fund post-retirement benefits. We have a very healthy balance there. You can see that at the end of FY23, we were 52% funded. We had $8.6 million in assets with a liability per our audit firm of $16.5 million. The FY24 audit is done as part of our financial statement audit, so we don't have that yet, but I can tell you that I've seen our investment earnings, which were very favorable. We had $1,356,000 in investment earnings. In addition, we made a contribution of $425,000 that's in our budget that we make annually. So our balance at the end of FY24 is $10,382,872. That's almost a $1.8 million increase. We'll talk more about this during the budget process. It kind of puts us in a position where, we're not quite there yet, but we're getting close to having a funded OPEB, which is fantastic. It might provide us the opportunity to look at whether we need to continue to fund that in future years.
Awesome.
The grants, I'm not going to go through all of them. They're there for your information. I did want to point out the ones highlighted in whatever color that is, mauve, I don't know what it is.
I was going to say orange.
Not mauve. Definitely not.
Taupe? I don't know.
School committee will go with peach.
Peach, okay. I don't know. It's pinker? Okay, sorry. That's off.
Yeah.
These are all competitive grants, so we're not guaranteed to get these. Metco REI grant, the financial literacy grant, the high quality instructional materials grant, SEL. These are all things, most of these are things we were going to do anyways. Maybe there's one that maybe we can't in some cases, but these are things we really wanted to do, and finding a funding source for it was important. And I think it's important for us to highlight this because we do know there's financial pressures, and we think it's important to highlight that we do work to try to not put the burden on the towns when we can. And so you can see one of those was $70,000 for math, a new math program for middle school math. And then, we've talked about youth risk behavior survey, and one of the grants is to support social SEL and mental health, $45,000 in one district, $15,000 in the other. So these also align with our strategic plan. So that's there as a reference, and we'll continue to report this in future years. The other thing is you can see we're certainly grateful for the amount of funding we receive in support of the students that reside at the shelter across, CPS is the bulk of it. That's about $631,000 we received, and that's supporting professional staff, tutors, contract services, all sorts of things that are critical for us to support those students. The last item I have is just an overview of the general fund, and I'm going to ask later that you vote to approve budget transfers. You approved preliminary transfers. The amounts have changed slightly. My commentary on what's driving these adjustments is slightly changed if there were some changes, but most of this I've gone through at the last meeting. I don't think I'm necessarily going to go through it again unless there's questions on the transfers. And I've kind of put explanations for what the key drivers are.
Pretty straightforward. Got it. Mm-hmm.
I love these memos, just for the record.
Yeah.
I really like them.
Yeah, just so clear. Thank you.
Bob, I'm curious why we didn't mention chapter funding,
Chapter 70?
71?
Within the E&D, that's something I thought about, whether to report revenues separately. That's something I could do next year, but the revenues are overall fairly close to budget. The one big exception was the one I pointed out, which was the interest income. We have Chapter 70s up a little bit. Chapter 74, which is transportation, is down a bit. And so some of those offset. But if that's something that people are interested in, I could just do a revenue summary as well.
On the revolving funds, do you have a minimum, like unofficial, that you keep in each category, or is it?
Can you restate the question a little?
In your revolving funds?
Yeah.
Do you have a minimum? You have 4 categories, like athletic, like, do you have a minimum you like to keep in there at any given time, or is it
We
at
have,
the mercy of the budget?
We have a lot of funds, a lot of different small funds. Once they've been created, they're there. Some of them have small balances, like we could just try to spend them down, so we're not holding accounts with a couple $100 in them. But the ones that come to mind are like a lost books account. There's a couple other small ones like that. We also have some small donation accounts as well, some specifically for certain subjects. So those are things that you'll approve typically in the school committee meeting. If they're a donation, we typically try to spend those down quickly, but in some cases, they might linger.
In the big ones that he reported, there's a best practice attached to almost all of them. Adult and community ed is self-funding, so the goal there is we keep the cash flow in the black, but not make too much money. Athletics is going to be a bigger discussion as we go as to how much we're trying to manage in that athletic account versus the cost of the athletics. School lunch, you want 3 operating months in there, just best practice according to DESE. And circuit breaker, you're always trying to carry a year over.
Yeah, okay.
So it's account by account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I guess I didn't follow.
Maybe I didn't ask
okay.
it.
That's okay.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm guessing this is maybe dumb, but like of 2024 funding, you can only carry over certain categories of funding to 2025?
We can carry over, most revolving funds you can carry over in full.
Yeah.
Circuit breaker, you can't. Circuit breaker, you can only carry over the prior year revenue. You cannot carry over, when I told you we received $1.6 million in circuit breaker, the extraordinary relief piece you have to spend in the year. So that had to be spent in '24, but the rest of the circuit breaker can carry over.
Got it.
That's the one that I tend to focus on the most, that we want to have a safety net, because we don't have a special ed stabilization fund.
Okay.
I think that's it for the
perfect.
region.
You want to move on to the budget fiscal year 26 timeline?
I just have a little bit of a question. So we usually have to vote the year. I know you mentioned it, the transfers, right?
Yeah.
To close out the fiscal year. And I see we have a vote to do that, but based on not the real transfers. Like we're not seeing the final document with all the transfers.
This is the summary.
Just a summary, but I don't feel comfortable voting on the transfers. We don't see really the transfers.
Isn't this what we usually see?
No, we usually see a sheet with the finals, like where the money's moved around from the.
I'm not sure I follow, but this is what I've been presenting quarterly, and this is what
Right, so the quarterly, right. So you know what I'm saying? The 1,000
You're saying for
columns.
the whole year versus just for the quarter?
This is the full year. So this is what I'm presenting. What I'm presenting quarterly is year-to-date Q1, year-to-date Q2, year-to-date Q3, year-to-date Q4. So you're always seeing cumulative data for the year.
Right, so do we see Q4?
By itself, I would have to take this and subtract it from the Q3 report. That would be how has this changed from Q? So I would take the transfers column and whatever I presented in Q3, it would just be the difference between the two.
Well, Q4 and the end of the year, I mean, you're talking about the same thing.
Ultimately, for audit purposes, I need to have what I'm presenting to you approved.
Right, you need the cumulative, which is normally what you're approving. So it's the column here that says transfers and adjustments. That's technically what you're approving is those movings around.
I'll abstain then, because I'd like to see it, but the rest of the committee is happy, then let's move forward.
I think if there was contentious conversations in the previous quarters, I would.
No, but it's just a vote.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, just a clarifying question? So on the final page of your memo, the transfers and adjustments that we see in column 4, are those for the quarter or for the aggregate?
For the aggregate. For the aggregate.
Okay.
But So over the course of the year?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
But to your point, if we just put the four memos that together,
We could see the
very
difference.
simple
Yeah,
math to
yeah.
calculate.
Yes, it
Yeah,
progresses over the course of the year.
Right.
Yeah.
And to date, we've always seen the aggregate
Yes.
as we go through. Okay, just want to make sure I understand the process
Mm-hmm.
fully. All right. Thank you.
Same, but it seems like everyone's good, and Cynthia, you're saying you're not going to put, okay, so let's move on. Do you want to do the timeline?
Yeah, Bob will talk you through this quickly, and actually, we don't need to do it again at CPS. It's the same timeline, but this is your budget build and leading up to town meeting, so this is FY '26 that we're going to start getting into in the next week or so.
I have a question. I'm looking at the February 5th date. Those are the draft warrant articles. I forget every year. We'll send that with a number that we will have approved on the 4th. But we can always adjust down from there. But okay, so we'll continue potentially with all these hearings, hear feedback, and adjust and deliberate. And you could see reductions from there.
Yeah.
I just think it's it's such a big, February to June is so long. I'm surprised they're just
It's
do that.
usually January till April or May, depending on town meeting.
Yeah,
So
anyway.
just pushed out farther.
Okay.
So I don't know how much discussion you want to have on this, but
This is all straightforward.
it's pretty straightforward. We're going to get started next week with the administrators, and then you can see how it evolves as we go through the fall and winter.
When will Carlisle set their town meeting date? Do we know that?
So
Sorry.
they had said it,
Yeah.
and it was the Monday after April vacation.
Oh,
And
wow.
so it was advised, I'm on the town meeting study committee. We advised that that's probably not the best date to have it. So
Okay.
they're looking at early-ish May.
So we could essentially have Carlisle town meeting come first,
I suspect you will.
We more than likely will, yes.
which will be interesting, because then that could potentially mean we could have different people at this table well before we approve the budget, right? In theory.
I mean, you're going to need an approved budget to go to Carlisle town meeting, so I think budgets are going to have to be wrapped up by then.
By then, okay.
You wouldn't have new people because Brian and I aren't terming out.
Oh, perfect.
But you might not come back.
But we would, I think we can say with confidence that we would just make that decision
Yeah.
after the, yeah.
You have to have a regional budget to go to Carlisle town meeting.
Yeah.
Period.
Kicked out.
Yeah, right.
Happening.
Yeah.
We'll be here.
Interesting, good.
If we get kicked out.
I'm kidding. That's what I'm saying, it's not going to happen.
Just wondering
We're
what
here.
it's planned.
No, we're here. We're
They're
here.
usually just much closer together.
They are usually
This
much
is gonna be
closer,
a-
yes.
It's a
We
long.
have this 250th thing that you seem
I
to
know,
have to do,
I know.
so, yeah.
What is that? Just kidding.
Okay.
So I'll just point out a couple of things. The capital meetings are highlighted in yellow, just since those are going to get a little bit of a renewed and different focus this year. The other dates, I mean, big picture, the dates are pushed back a little bit because of the timing of Concord Town Meeting. You can see some of our internal processes at the beginning. And I've noted some of the meetings we have with the town. And then I have January 7th as when we'll first present our budget to the school committee. The public hearings on the 21st. So that's where we are.
Basically, it looks like there's not much work to do. So you've got it all under control.
No, not at all. We're really glad if you close out with 24, so Bob's only going to be running 2 years at a time and not 3.
It's a significant
In
stress.
writing the agenda, I was like, you have the wrong fiscal year.
I know, Carrie's like, you've got the wrong fiscal year. I'm like, no, no.
I don't.
3 years, Carrie.
How? This is,
And we don't have any dates from Carlisle
No,
Finance Committee.
not yet.
I'm afraid we're going to be like.
I think that's probably being discussed right tonight.
Okay.
As we speak, literally.
well, thank you, Bob
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
and Lori.
That's all, Bob.
There's a couple dates on there I needed help with.
I have
so
input a
thank you.
little bit.
All right. Great. Well, let's move on to the goals. Do you want me to share? I can share my screen.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not quick enough on the draw here.
Okay, so what we were able to do, we had a lot of conversations, I know, over the past few meetings. We had it in the Word document. What I thought we would do, this is what we've been talking about, is just streamline it. So hopefully everyone had a chance to just get used to the look. But I'll start at a macro level just so we can see it, and then I'll zoom in. If you remember, we had it organized by student achievement and success, community relations and outreach, budget base, and then school committee operations. Those were the categories. And then within that, we actually had eight goals written out. And so what I did is I streamlined it into a dashboard so that when we meet, we can just quickly go through it. I'll give you a vision, and then obviously I want everyone to push back as needed. But ideally, if things are in order and we're tracking, Carrie and I will reach out for obviously updates on progress if we're not directly involved. But if it's green, I feel like we probably don't have to spend a lot of time on it in the meeting. So when we're preparing the agenda for the following meeting, we'll really focus the ones that are, I'll say, off track. And I think I mentioned it before, but I want to say it again, is the best way to use a tracking tool like this is if we were to turn something red. So if a goal is off track, it's not necessarily, don't look at it as like a mark against you. It's more like, hey, we need some attention to this. We need some help. And I think this just would give us a really clear view when Carrie and I send out the agenda overview and the pre-packet that you can directly see. And then if you know something is red hot or you need attention to it, you can reach out to us before the meeting and say, hold on a second, this needs to be added to the agenda. And I think it just will make us run more efficiently and get the right things on the agendas and get us working on the right things. So with that being said, just a reminder of the goals. The first one is prioritize, amplify, and be ambassadors for fostering an inclusive and welcoming environment for all students from Boston, Carlisle, and Concord, and their families through community partnerships and relationships with other key organizations in the community. And then under that are those 3 SMART goals. So the first one was what we did tonight, share results of the YRBS report and identify opportunities for improvement and resources we can leverage to support students. The next one would be benchmark and review participation in an offering of AP classes. Ensure this is reviewed through an equitable lens and achievement gaps identified. This would also include the K-8 IEP analysis. So again, this is what we talked about earlier. The third one is semi-annual update on the DEIB strategic plan. It's currently in year 3 of, I'm sorry, I should say of 5. So those are the 3 under that we had all agreed to. So those are, is there anything that you see that's changed since last week that we didn't capture? Okay. The next one is update and finalize critical policy issues that support the needs of students and the school committee at large. So we have one policy around the annual report. We would do that by the end of this year. The next one around social media, which we'll actually vote on later tonight, that we reviewed at the last meeting. We'll complete that by December 2024. So again, this is a great view of something that's green, right? We're trending and we're gonna get this done. We're going to go through Title IX by May of 2025, cell phone policy by May of 2025. So those are the SMART goals under that. Those ones are a little bit more time-based. Third is the examine the achievement gap, where we are doing well and where we need to step up. So this is where we're going to report out on benchmarking, for benchmarking purposes from CCHS and CPS administrators by end of November. So we will have that data available. Some of these, you know, we have a monthly chart here, but some of the data is annual. So we might do one review of it, we go through it, and then we have conversations about improvements thereafter. But the data will be shared in November of 2024. The next one, have school leaders attend and share success factors with the committee, ensuring there are multiple pathways to success and ways to measure. So really getting into the how. So we'll start, planning for that. So if anyone has ideas that haven't already been brought up, we can bring those up either offline or later. And then under community relations and outreach, we have that telling the story of the school that we had mentioned earlier. Carrie did a great overview before. And then again, the SMART goals are time-based, so we might change those a
I
bit.
was just gonna say, can you add Brian in?
Oh, yeah.
And then also, can you change it from April to end of May? Does that sound right? No, sorry, at the end.
At the end.
Final product by the end of May.
Okay.
But do we want that for town meeting in Carlisle?
Oh, yeah.
So
Well, although it's going to be K to 12, that's a really interesting question.
Well, I think when you do the formatting, you have a separate part.
book.
Yeah.
Great.
Even just a separate
I think we
chapter.
should have it for
Yeah,
Carlisle town
agreed.
meeting.
Okay,
we
so that would
actually have to
be
end of March. We'd have to have it done if they're going to have an early April meeting, because we'll want to bring it to the.
It won't be early April.
No, but
Early May.
Early April? You don't
Early
think so?
May.
no, I know,
May.
but if we bring a final product here, get any feedback that you have, print it. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be steps that need to be.
Yeah, but
Yep.
to think
I would
the
do end of-
meeting would be early May.
Yeah. So,
Totally.
Okay,
so end of March. I would say end of March.
March, right.
Wow, you went from May to March. That's great.
Tracy did, actually.
I like it. No, this is great. This is the whole purpose of SMART goals. Yeah, and then of course doing an end of year review on the process, outcome, and value. Like, is this serving what we wanted it to do? Is it telling the right story that we wanted? Next one, enhance community engagement to ensure the school committee are in touch on the needs of the community. So we had 3 SMART goals on coffees. So Boston, Carlisle, and Concord. Aisha will take the lead on Boston. I'll take the lead on Carlisle. Alexa will take the lead on Concord. So we do have to put probably some dates on that. Carlisle only meets monthly, so we have our school committee meeting tomorrow. So I'll circulate that and come back with a date. But at least we have them underneath that we're going to commit to at least one of these. The next one's pretty straightforward. Anything budget-based. I think these are expectations, but we did want to call them out for transparency. Goal number 6, commit to the comprehensive capital planning process. Again, work collaboratively with both the select board and FinCom. 7, CCHS campus completion plan, review and recommend a plan for the campus completion, including the amenities building and the track. So the SMART goal would be appoint school committee leads. We had talked earlier, again, Alexa, Tracy, and Brian, to identify grant opportunities and ways to offset the cost of the building by end of October 2024 and start reporting out monthly. So that's coming up soon.
So we're going to set a meeting real soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right, we're going to do it. This is keeping us on track, though, actually.
I like this.
Yeah, so the next meeting, if you haven't met yet, we would probably turn this red.
Okay.
And we would say, how can we help you?
An email. I like it.
I like it too.
I like it.
Yeah, there's the gavel. And then the last one is just, I think really great conversations, early in Brian and I's time here, but reevaluate the school committee processes. So really looking at, review the school committee evaluation process, not only the timing of it, but also who's included and the questions that we ask, making sure that they actually are going to help us and serve the population and communities who we serve. Last one, invite and encourage existing and future METCO reps to attend MASC's charting the course training. So we'll get those dates out if we haven't already. I think
They're just on the
They're on the
MSC
website. Yeah, you
website.
just sign
them up.
Sign up whenever, you want.
Perfect.
Lori, if they sign up, do they just email you?
Aaron.
Aaron?
Yeah, Aaron's fine.
Yep. We can send the link too. So you have it. But yeah, so these are the goals. They shouldn't look different. It's just going to be primarily in a different format. Is there anything that we missed in translation, or is everyone comfortable with this format?
Yeah, I think it's good job.
I love this format, so I'm excited to use this year.
Awesome. So I think the way we have it is I didn't want to set it up for every single meeting. I think having a monthly view of this, so we can certainly show it, but I think just doing a status at the end of it, and then as things get completed, we can mark it as such and stop tracking them. I think the biggest thing though is when we get into anything like under the, where there's data needed, there's seasonality to some of that. So I know like some of the stuff you get in November, some of it you'll get in April. So I think we might just want to keep on socializing those timelines because some of it we just cannot accelerate. But just making sure that we have it, we know what questions we want to ask, and then if we want speakers to come in and talk about it, that we have the agenda planned to do that. Did I capture that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'll that's that. So I think,
Thank you, guys. I really like this.
This was.
Thank you.
I like the
Joyce,
colors,
it's
I like the
awesome.
format, I like it all.
good, good, awesome. Yeah, and hopefully, like I said, it brings the transparency that everyone's asking for, and we'll make some progress. All right, so let's move to the action items where we can actually start approving some of this.
Let's do it.
All right, the first one up is, can I get a motion to approve the social media policy?
So moved. Second?
Second.
Second.
All right. Discussion? All in favor?
Wait, didn't we also want to,
Rename it.
no, we did rename it. If you look at the,
The three views, yep.
no, I was going to say, weren't we also going to cross-reference to the handbook?
I wondered if you really wanted to do that because it's a staff policy.
Oh,
If you tell me to put it back, I will. But when I gave the links to Erin, I was like,
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a staff policy.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, otherwise, no, I don't have any other discussion.
Okay.
So just
No, no,
raises,
yeah.
so now so most schools do have not a social media policy about, we kind of talk about it in here, so it is more of a social media policy because we're talking about accounts, right? Not just communication. It's like establishing, like a kid can go off and say, I'm the, field hockey Instagram account. But is it the official field hockey Instagram account, or is it just a kid doing that? Like, are we trying to track official accounts versus, I'm just going to set up an Instagram page?
But this isn't that policy. That would be a different policy, right?
Right.
This is specifically about students
Staff.
engaging,
Staff
staff
is
engaging
saying,
with students.
Should we have that?
Maybe that's something that we should bring up at the next
Policy meeting,
to
thank
be
you.
scheduled policy
Policy
meeting.
It's a good, yeah. Well said.
Yep.
Say that one more time, Cynthia, just thinking.
So where I work with, we've been trying to clamp down and be sure we have an official Instagram account. It's not just a kid setting up an Instagram account without, it's not representing, like they'll say this is a club Instagram account, which isn't really a sanctioned club at the school. You know what I'm saying? Like I have the Dungeons and Dragons Club, but it's
Okay.
real. But it says the Concord Carlisle Dungeons and Dragons account,
Yeah, okay.
Or like there used to be an account called CC Stackers, which was the stacking of furniture. It wasn't really a real club.
Right.
It's students, students
They can
setting
do
it
it.
up and they can do it.
Right, but is it sanctioned by the administration?
So I think we should definitely talk about the subcommittee. It's a good point, and just trying to think about like what we can control. Yeah.
So it's good they renamed it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, yeah, so it's the electronic communications with students, yes, absolutely. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, next is the vote, second approval to CCHS trips 24 to 25.
The policy right now, maybe you want to put this on your list, says I need to bring it back to you, even though you approved the trips in the spring. There's a second approval process. I've never totally been quite clear on the difference, but I'm following the policy. So these are the trips that are slated to go out this school year: Cuba, France, Italy, Hawaii, and then 2 domestic. So I'm hoping you'll grant second approval. The trips are queued up and ready to roll. They'll be enrolling kids imminently.
Is the trip website live?
I don't know if they've
I don't know if
updated it
is.
yet or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move the Concord Carlisle School Committee votes to give second approval on the proposed 2024-2025 trips as outlined with the condition that a signed district liability waiver, Maya, is received from all participants.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, sorry,
Can I
discussion.
qualify? Hawaii is not international, so we could
was
just move
going
that
to
to the
ask
other
that
category. Yeah.
True.
I just spotted that there.
It's really far away.
It feels really far, though.
It does feel really far away.
It's farther than any of the other places. but
Anyway.
Non-continental.
Right, there we go.
I don't mind the second approval because the world changes a lot.
Yeah, well, and you might approve it tonight, and last year we had one change and we couldn't go because it was too unsafe in Ecuador, so.
So it takes 3 minutes, it's not a big deal.
Is that waiver, is that new?
Which?
The Maya waiver from all participants?
No.
Or, no, there's always a waiver.
There's always been
Is that a
that.
specific waiver?
Yes, and as much as we have people waive anything, they can still sue us. It's
Right, okay.
not actually a
Okay,
waiver.
Okay.
I mean, they say to do it, but every lawyer would tell you waivers are going to only protect you so much.
What's the status of the scholarships?
This Sharon Young Fund probably has,
More than 10,000, I believe.
yeah, it's probably just over 10. That's where,
Active, like, leadership, no.
nope,
No.
there's nothing active going on there. If we get a donation, we can target it there.
I think
but-
that, I mean, the hope was that it would, I have a conflict on that one, I'll just say it. I have a conflict because I established the fund. So I think that I can't take charge of it right now in my current role in school committee. But if there were a teacher that wanted to, or a community member that wanted to step in, the hope was always that there would be continued fundraising to
Yeah.
feed that fund. And so it's been on pause since I joined the committee.
I know one teacher's interested in working on it, but not leading it. We've put the call out to the community a couple times without any,
I mean, do I have actually, I should probably call and see. I think I do have a conflict.
Oh, yeah. Which use?
I don't know.
How many?
money for you.
What's the
No,
with-
no.
No.
What's the withdrawal annually?
It depends on the trips and the level of need. There's a couple of us looking at things when they come in. We were only giving out $500 at a time when students were eligible, because we're going to burn through the money, and there'll be nothing to offer anyone.
I'm saying approximately what was the withdrawal for last year?
I don't have it off the top of my head.
Maybe 3,000, approximately.
And just as historical, Sharon Young was a principal at Alcott. When she retired, a fund was established by the PTG, et cetera. And in 2020, that was the first time that the withdrawal was going to happen, and then the trips all been canceled.
Yep.
So there was a process for applications and everything else. There was a very large committee, and I think it's just, it might need some massaging.
We need
Nobody
someone
will- nobody will
interested
do
in
it.
fundraising is what we need. That's
I'm
the
going to
answer.
call the ethics board to see if I could do fundraising.
Do it. They'll call you right back.
They'll let me know. I mean,
Yeah,
They call you right back.
No harm in asking, exactly.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? I get a vote? All those in favor, sorry.
Aye.
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 Still getting used to all this.
Okay.
Okay, next is the vote to approve the launch retail space.
Bob will take this over in a moment, but we're really excited to, I think sometimes things happen for a reason. You'll remember we had a more expensive property that needed a lot of capital improvements. This is a pretty big change to go to something smaller, more user-ready, and much less expensive. So we're excited to get a setting in place and then start the work to get the shop up and running. Bob will talk through the details of the process here that we need you to consider.
Maybe just really quickly, I know we didn't talk about this beforehand, but can you just give like an elevator pitch of what the space is going to be used for?
Happily, sure. This is a fun topic. So the launch program is our 18 to 22-year-old program. They're housed here at Ripley unless they're off-site somewhere. Much of the point of a transition program for the post-secondary kids is vocational and life skills, and making sure they're building some exposure and opportunity out in the community and with some skills to take away from it. So oftentimes right now, they might go out in other settings and do things. We've been able to model after what Shrewsbury and Westboro did to create their own retail spaces. It's not a for-profit endeavor. We might make money if we're doing something right, but that's not the point. There's a store manager usually that selects the merchandise, and the kids then are very actively involved in all aspects of the retail business, from the front of the house to the back of the house. Sometimes they're even making things that get sold, but it becomes a real focal point for the program. We've already had inquiries from other districts about tuitioning kids in once this is up and running. The word is out already because there isn't one in our geographic vicinity. So we think there's just a lot of opportunity here. And I think last time Angel was here last year, it helped us also to say we can probably hold a few of our own kids more now that are not staying with us, they're going to a collaborative that might have a more expansive set of offerings.
Got it.
So we're really excited, and like I said, everything happens for a reason. This is a lot less upfront money and ongoing rent, and will just, I think help us all feel a little more comfortable with the costs, as much as we appreciated your support last year. So do you want to talk process?
Yeah, it's also nicer than the other property, I will say.
So much, and not toxic. Was the
I think
end of the plan there.
I mean, just sometimes I want these things for like the minutes for the community to know, like, to me, this is a DEI initiative.
Yeah.
This is an alternate path to success initiative. This is an innovation
Yeah.
initiative. It's also fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so few opportunities where all of those things
Right,
connect.
right.
And it's also just the right sort of thing to do. So I'm thrilled that we're doing this. And again, I can even think of like some time I've spent with CPAC, like thinking about certain kids who were out of district and whose parents were really struggling, and this would have solved this for them as recently as 4 years ago. So, when we talk about even individual students, I think this is impactful. So, well done.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Really excited.
I wonder if this could also just, off of the CMS presentation tonight, if this could also be a PBIS initiative, like if there's some way to like.
Interesting. Well, I don't know about you, but I want the high school kids to spend real money over there.
But you get like, $1 and you go in and you spend $5. So.
Interesting. I don't know, Carrie. I hadn't thought about all that.
Because the high school is
Snacks.
They love the
There you go.
So just clarity, we're not doing anything that requires Board of Health approval for safe serve or any of that. It'll be, bag and go sort of stuff if we offer snacks.
Can I ask a dumb question? Where is 199 Sudbury Road?
Right in front of Crosby's.
Oh, there is a
Scroll,
picture? Where?
scroll in the attachments.
You know this building.
Oh, there it is.
Cambridge Davis.
It's where Simon had his little campaign office.
Oh, I thought it was across. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's a nice spot.
Great.
It's a
All the kids go.
Excellent. It's right by Starbucks. I mean, it's great.
Right, walkable to the high school.
Train. All right, Bob, take us through the numbers, and then we can
so-
get into discussion.
So we had to issue an RFP, which is a challenging process for real estate because realtors don't want to do that. So, but we ended up getting one respondent, and had to kind of walk them through what we needed. Ultimately, we saw the space, thought it met our needs. The respondent was Firehouse Capital, Inc. For the property. There's a picture at the end of the attachment there. The lease costs that they included were starting at, they quoted a monthly amount, but I just listed the annual cost, $28,800, and they escalate to $35,004 in the last year. The rules for leases are different than other procurements. We can lease up to 20 years with approval from the school committee. Most other things that we procure are 3 years. What I am proposing is that we do a 3-year lease with a 2-year option. The option would be just at our discretion, the district's. It wouldn't be at the retail space's discretion. Again, these dollars are approximately a third of what we were looking at in the other location. The other location was bigger, but I think this is in a better location. And they're in relatively move-in condition. We would need things like shelves but like small dollar investment. So that's where we are. Again, we only had one respondent, but it turns out to be in a place that we think meets our needs, and so we recommend moving forward and accepting the bid. And the way I worded the motion is so that we don't necessarily need to come back again, is to have the school committee award the bid the way I wrote it to this company, and that you authorize Dr. Hunter and I to work with the district council to execute a lease agreement with the third party that sent the proposal in.
For the 3 years with the 2-year option.
Correct.
The motion doesn't specify that. That's,
I said up to 5 years.
we are committing to 3.
Well, no,
You're
but he
welcome
was-
to amend the motion as you'd like.
Yeah.
But he was just saying that leases are different and we can do up to 20 years.
No, I'm saying, but we are committing to 3 years.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you said we are a committee that does 3. I was
No, yeah.
Okay.
They're not interested for us to go forward with just a year.
Yes.
So, 3-year minimum. If the committee
So
wanted to.
should we say for 3 years?
We'd like the up to 5. so
Okay. Oh, I see.
We would obviously keep you posted, but
Well, there's going to be a new, no matter what, there's going to be a new school committee in 3 years, so probably should come back in 3 years, I think.
But would this
Or 2.5.
vote lock in those prices with the?
The prices are locked in. We can't change the prices. The
if
question
they
is,
don't vote
Can
for
they
the 4th and 5th year option today, do we lose those prices?
that's, we'll have to negotiate for
Yeah,
them to
we'll be
hold those
back at the
prices.
table. Yeah.
So we can try to get them to agree to hold those prices with it being an option for us. I mean, I don't know what they're going to say.
But if we vote tonight, you're locked into those prices, or they're locked into those prices.
No, if you vote tonight, then we can tell them they have the lease, and then
Yeah.
Lori and I can work the terms out with the other company.
It basically just lets us out after 3. Should you either not have enough interest, or maybe you need a larger space? And after 3 years, you
Right.
can come back and
Correct.
renegotiate that. But this would give you up to 5.
That's what I'm kind of saying, because I know that the Shrewsbury, one of their big things that they love about their program is that kids are there in that building. That's where they are housed, not off-site. So it makes it easier for them to be flexible with the kids working there and then getting academics and so forth. So I'm just,
But if we keep the motion as is for up to 5 years, this is basically giving the two of you the flexibility to sort of figure it out.
My plan and recommendation would be to ask for 3 years with a 2-year option, just because of those issues that have been discussed.
Where if we say 3 years, then
yeah.
you can only
Right,
negotiate for 3
exactly.
years. So I would rather,
Yeah.
They do have other space in the building that if the program were to grow in 3 years, who knows, we might be able to look at other space in the building. In fact,
so because we're thinking about doing this, do we have this in the budget for this year?
not for FY '25, we would use the circuit breaker funds.
That
to
was
pay for
always the
this.
plan, was circuit breaker.
So we also have a lot of new pressure on the circuit breaker funds, right?
Well, yes, and this is going to keep kids in district and bring in tuition, so.
But not in FY '25. So I'm just wondering what other expenses we are anticipating. to get
Let's
this.
just hear this out. So if it's, because I want to make sure I understand it. So we keep kids in district, right? So there's a cost savings on that.
For FY '26,
But
potentially.
even,
It might even matter now.
I was going to say, wouldn't it have an impact in '25?
It certainly could, because you'd have a program to,
We don't.
You know that you have a program to send kids to as they're turning 18. You know, as they age out of pathways to go into lunch, you would know, because
That's
some
what I
people
thought.
might want
What's-
to make different decisions.
What's the timeline right now?
if you approve this tonight, Angel and I were chatting about a few months to get up and running and then open the doors. That's,
Ambitious.
ambitious, but there's no big things to do other than figure out what you're going to sell and get a setting arranged.
So there's no upfront cost, though, there's versus the other one, correct?
There'll be
Okay.
some small costs, but not a $300,000.
Like shelves and everything,
Yeah.
but not like okay, and then it's $2,500 a month,
Right.
28.
28.
And the other consideration is that this space won't be available if we don't
No,
go
I'm not,
forward.
I just like to have a plan.
Yeah.
I'm a plan person.
Sure.
I'm just, and I agree with you, Cynthia, so I just want to talk this out. So if it's 2,800, let's just call it 3 times 12, 36 grand a year, right? And maybe that even factors in the cost of, 28, sorry.
Yeah, it's 28 a year, but we
No, it's
2,400 a year. I mean, a month.
a month.
Right, 28,800 for the first year of the lease,
2,400.
$2,400 a month.
Okay, so I get the two crossed, but even still, you're talking like around $30,000. What would be one out of district?
Almost always
Over 100.
80 to 100, yeah.
Don't we get reimbursed 75% on circuit breaker on those?
Only over the threshold of 50-some thousand at 75%, so.
So I guess the question is, are we willing to take a risk?
Right.
Does it, Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm talking through it right now.
We, concerned about our budget last week. So it's not, we can't borrow money, right?
Nope.
Right, but again, I guess I have to, I do have to advocate for these kids, because I do think.
Tracy, it's not, I'm
I
not
know,
against-
but I just need to speak my words here. And we want to do the right things for kids. We want to keep kids in district. And yes, we know we have a budget to meet, but I think we can do all of those things by doing this. I see it as very separate, because it's really doing what's right for our kids to keep them in district.
So that's just, so they, in Shrewsbury, they get a lot of IDEA money. They do a lot of fundraising. I just like to see more detail, because I think to be successful, we need to find.
I mean, we met with Shrewsbury, we visited the space there, we talked with them at length. They had a much bigger vision than we have right now. We're trying to just get our feet on the ground with a open the door, retail setting of at a very low key level. They took a building that had been vacated by a former retail space and renovated it, down to the studs, built it all back up. It's a beautiful space for the program itself in the back of the house and the retail space out front and a workshop in between and a whole bunch of, that's not our vision right now. We have a workable space here that we've renovated over the last few years to have some different tools available here. We like the kids getting out and about and actually getting in the van and going somewhere. We kind of think that's important, not just to keep them in one building. So
And we
visions are different.
This in the,
You did approve this in the spring.
We did approve this in the spring.
And our circuit breakers,
1.1 million at the high school.
so a small amount of circuit breaker would be allocated. And true to your point, we approved that before we knew about some of these additional out-of-district placements. I look at this as a very small cost for I see the trade-off, as a decent one, and then I'm also, I know it doesn't work this way, because then we go into FY20, but we won't see tuitions till FY26. But to your point, I just see this as a program, again, not that the goal is to create revenue, but I see this as eventually becoming a very self-funding.
So I think.
Maybe we could just get an update in 2 months.
Yeah, I think, so I was just going to say, so I think there's a few things. One, I think everyone around this table, just so we walk away from this, is in support of the kids and the need to give them a space and try to reduce out-of-district placements, but also just give them, like you said, get them out of the building, give them some more just extended purpose. So I think we're all in agreement with that. I don't have to hesitate on that. I think the second piece that we're not even talking about is, like you said, you're not looking to make money, but the 2,400, they are going to be selling things. So the hope is that the numbers break even. So it's even less of a risk. But I think the other thing is we're really just voting to let them negotiate. And I think to Brian's point, 3 years, but we want to give you the room to get to 5. So the desire from the committee, if I'm hearing everyone, is to go for the 3 with a 2-year option, and that is what we would love to see.
Realistically, when do you think this lease would even commence?
Soon.
November 1st, but
We've been
you're still-
anxiously awaiting the date today, because we had to wait for the RFP to close to bring it to you.
Right, like November, December?
They're also anxious because they have vacant space.
Right,
already
sure,
halfway
sure.
through
We're going to start moving this along tomorrow if you.
No, I get that, but so, I mean, the first you could probably do would be November 1st. Do you think it's that, you're that optimistic that you could sign a lease that you start paying for on 11/1?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
okay, so we're talking about,
Like January,
Ish.
February.
Yeah,
right, but so,
that's the hope.
December, January, February.
March.
7, it's not even the full 28, because it's
No.
really only 7 months of FY25. So, to me, I'm comfortable with that. That makes financial sense.
I think it's a great line of questioning. And I think that even if in this current year we don't, it's an investment, I think that to everything that everyone has been saying, it will pay off in the long run. And I think on lots of levels for the kids, for the community, and then also for the budget.
Yeah, it's a short-term investment for savings you'll see in 26, 27, 28.
Yeah, and the fact that you're already hearing from other communities about transition or tuitioning in and it's not even really been talked about widely.
It's not even real.
Yeah, it's not even a thing yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this, it's $21,000 that we're sort of risking. I think that that's
Well,
responsible.
that's the rent.
Right.
You have to clean it up, we have to buy product, you know, there's like a startup cost to everything.
For sure.
Yes, to anything.
For sure.
Correct. Yeah.
Can I,
Okay, so we will put this on the agenda for.
I thought we were voting on
early
it.
26 as a review.
Oh, well,
No, as a review, because you had just said.
Yeah.
We hear more about it in a few months.
Sure.
and I think
Yeah.
that's
We'll do-
fine.
yeah.
Okay.
for now, yes.
Good spot for your coffee
Yeah.
chat.
All right, I'm going to move Concord Carlisle Regional School Committee vote to award the bid for the launch program lease space RFP to Firehouse Capital, Inc. for up to a 5-year period at the prices submitted in the RFP, and further that the Concord Carlisle Regional School Committee authorize district administration to negotiate and execute a lease agreement for up to 5 years in coordination with legal counsel.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? We already kind of did it, but.
Good luck.
No, I would just echo, I think everyone, it was a very thoughtful conversation, so thank you for raising everything. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. Next can I have a motion to vote to approve the fiscal year '24 end-of-year transfers for CCRSD?
Sure. I'll move, do you want to just?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to read it.
Yeah, just read it, go for it.
I move that the Concord Carlisle Regional School Committee vote to approve the FY24 and year-end budget transfers as presented in the year-end summary report.
Second.
Discussion?
Thank you, Bob.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. And then final, vote to approve the school committee goals.
I make a motion to approve the Concord Carlisle Regional School District 2024-2025 goals.
Seconded.
Discussion?
Thank you, Julie, for
Awesome.
together.
Yeah, and I just want to thank Domingos and Aisha, because I know they don't have a formal vote, but I appreciate you guys jumping in and putting your voices in, and then hopefully we continue the discussions, and in our bi-weekly meetings, make sure that we're on track to what we commit to. Just want to say that publicly for the minutes, as Alexa said. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I move to, can we just adjourn, or do I have to get a vote on that? I can never remember.
You do have to motion to adjourn technically, but we sometimes just put it in the minutes.
I got a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the Concord Carlisle Regional School Committee.
Right, it's Concord staying in session.
Yep.
Do it, Julie.
There we go.
Somebody's just
Favorite part of the meeting.
Have a good night.
I miss making up for old times. I heard nobody else did it, so.
Take the gavel as a second.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Julie.
What a great.
I was thinking,
It's crazy.
my mother's passed away, but she used to, and I was like, oh my God, I would have been like, I can't even.
Pack up the hydration station.
All right, do we need a minute? Do we want to take
One
like a
item,
couple
Carrie.
minute break? Oh,
One item, Carrie.
Flying people out.
Bob's ready.
Woman said she's
Bob,
like,
go.
I'm just staying put.
Bye, good night.
Good night, Brian, see ya.
With her son,
Yeah, if you don't have
like, oh my God, she's, I would get stuck on the road.
Oh, yeah, this is so much simpler. Yeah.
All right. Ready, Bob?
Great night.
turn the heat on.
CPS, fiscal year, end of year.
Okay.
It's gonna get hot this week.
So for CPS, end-of-year report here for FY24. I did want to just highlight that we spent a lot of work reconciling with the town, with new staff there, new staff in our office, and they've also converted from a very old software to Munis, and converted their balances to a new system. So the town is not officially closed FY24, but given now that we're in October, and my expectation that we won't have any adjustments to our books, that if there are adjustments, it'll be to the towns in relation to stool accounts. I'm moving forward with reporting year-end figures. If something does change, I'll report back to the school committee at a future meeting. I'll send a memo just to tell you what changed. But again, I'm not anticipating that. For the general fund, we spent essentially all of our budget. The operating budget was $45,047,176. We have an unspent, unencumbered balance of $2,101 at the end of FY '24. Again, I'll go through that in more detail at the end of this. Our revolving funds are a little bit more limited at CPS. We don't have an adult ed or large athletic program. The integrated preschool fund takes in expenses, fees for some certain paying students. And we spend all of those. That's the kind of unspoken, or maybe it's spoken agreement with the committee that we commit to spend down all of the fees that we receive. So we took in $189,000 and spent all of those this past fiscal year. That's about 20% of the program costs. Most of the program is funded by the general fund. The school lunch maintained a healthy balance, was spent down slightly. I do think they'll get the benefit of, as we consolidate the two schools, the middle schools. We do have good participation there, but there'll be some efficiency from operating in a single cafeteria with modern equipment. So I think that that trend of a decline there will be helped next year. Another thing, just as a reminder, the state is continuing to fund universal free school lunch. That includes a free breakfast. Our food service director wanted me to say that loudly to people. Anybody who's still paying attention, you can get breakfast free too, including at the elementary schools. We've advertised that, I think, in a newsletter recently as well to families. And then our circuit breaker balance actually improved a bit. You can see the balance increased from $571,000 to $630,000. The most that we can carry over is approximately $840,000. That's the revenue that we received this year. So, we're in decent position, but the CPS circuit breaker fund is smaller because we have a significantly smaller number of students that are out of district. It's about 16 students, I believe. On a larger student population, the high school is closer to 40-something. So, again, this is the piece that we received from the state. One other comment just on circuit breaker is the state funding wasn't quite as favorable. It's not like it's going to decline from what we received this year, but we were hoping for a nice bump, and then the way it was funded was a little bit less than we anticipated, so we'll talk more about that during the budget process. The not mauve color shading here. I think it's technically cantaloupe. I looked it up in between sessions.
Cantaloupe.
I like cantaloupe. I'm into that.
So, at the end of the meeting.
That's even better.
Getting a little punchy at the end of the meeting here, so I apologize. So again, the same information, but we kind of went through this. And the last section is the transfers and adjustments. It was, I would describe it as there was a little bit less moving parts in the CPS budget in FY '24 than the high school. And you can see that the transfers and adjustments were more moderate than at the high school. And I've kind of highlighted the reasons. One of the large ones was the fixed assets. We had we're still waiting for delivery of buses that were supposed to come. So that's the primary reason for the fixed assets being under budget. So, again, we worked through certainly the homeless grant funding was a important source for us to get through the year and cover some of the expenses that we otherwise didn't have funding for.
With the buses, so does that mean we don't pay for them until we receive them? So that's why it goes into,
Correct.
Does it go into a different budget?
Yeah, it's just, we just don't pay if we don't have it. So
Yeah,
it's,
well, of
we basically transacted to have a lease. We put in a purchase order, and when we do the purchase order, we reserve the first year payment. We don't actually pay it, but we reserve it as an encumbrance. And then once it comes in, we apply it against that. Well, since it doesn't come in, we don't even have a year two payment to apply. So everything's just kind of pushed back. So we have a placeholder money set aside for year one, but since we're already in, these are 14 months out. We're really trying to get the vendors to deliver. They've had challenges with supply chain, with a lot of orders. It's frustrating to us, but so, one of the things we've looked at is maybe we need to order these at the beginning of the fiscal year so they're not arriving like, in this point, in November.
And how does that work from a budgeting standpoint? Because I assume now these are now, that same line item is moved towards next year's budget.
Yeah, it'll push out. It'll be in, once we receive it, it'll be in the next 4 years. So once we get them in the lease, in the buses here, we have 5 years of lease payments.
Yep.
The first year we reserve when we place the order.
Okay.
These are replacement buses though, so presumably you have like more maintenance costs too on the current.
Yeah, the ones, yes, the older buses definitely have more maintenance. The ones these will replace are things that we're going to scrap, like they're not even being driven.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're just sitting,
Yeah, we have trade-in, we'll get some trade-in they get the spare parts. It's actually a little bit more than, the last time we traded in, we were getting like a couple $1,000s in scrap metal. I think we're getting $6,000 to $8,000 for these buses. It's not a lot, but it helps offset the purchase cost.
I bought one of those buses my senior year of high school.
You did not.
I did, yeah, I'll show you a picture.
Why? That's a separate discussion.
Yeah. Let's all get out of here.
So, our Director of Transportation is looking for drivers, so we'll see.
Andrew. He's going to start moonlighting.
So that's anyways, there's two buses that were ordered for each district, and we are hopefully going to see those arrive fairly soon. So those are my updates on CPS. The budget timeline is the same. We've already seen that.
Any questions?
Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
So just so you know, that document is not in our attachment.
It's the last page.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, if you scroll to the back too. I got panicked when it wasn't there, but it is there.
It's so weird. Looking at it here.
It's linked. I just pulled it from the agenda.
Me too.
So bizarre.
Yeah, it's the last page.
You know what?
I pulled it off the agenda.
Yeah, no, it's in
Yeah.
both places on the agenda. Yeah.
It is.
Oh, it's not in the vote.
In the what?
The vote.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
That's what we said we were gonna approve then. That's
Got
why.
it. It's in the,
It's in the discussion.
It's in the discussion.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But it's there.
Yeah, I see it now.
Okay. Do you want to just go through the timeline?
We did it.
Same as what we talked
Okay,
about.
so we already did it. Okay, great.
We have
So
much
then,
new.
So I'll move.
well, the only distinction is CPS capital,
Yes.
which we will discuss at our next meeting.
Yeah. 22nd, that was cool.
22nd.
Fast.
Okay, so then, does anyone want to make a motion?
Sure. I'll move that the Concord School Committee vote to approve the FY24 year-end budget transfers as presented in the year-end summary report.
Seconded.
Discussion?
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. I'll adjourn.
Thanks.
Oh.
Need a motion to
Can someone
adjourn.
move?
I'm going to insist on a little law and order here, because the poor people doing the minutes are,
Oh, okay.
Have to make it up.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
9:13.
There we go.
I'm not going to hit it again.
Thank you.